Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another Tour Life. It is November 1st, and we have a lot to discuss today. You got myself and Yuli as always. We're going to be talking about the Battle for Bedford, a B tier event that I was playing at. But why is that important? It's not because I was playing there. It's because that is where Worlds will be next year. So you will have a sneak peek at the 2024 Worlds courses. And I've got a lot to talk about that. We've got our first rumor mill. The rumors are starting to fly, Yuli. Player movement. What's true? What's not? We're going to sniff it out. I did my investigating. I've got my eyes, my ears everywhere. I'll let you know what I know. Maybe Yuli knows some more than I do. And we'll see if we can kind of break some news here today. Yuli gets called out. Normally it's me, Yuli. Normally I'm the one that's getting called out for saying something, but no. Today you get called out. We're going to break that all down. Terry Miller, the man, the myth, the legend, the disc golf guy, probably the best name in disc golf. He got it quick. He got it early. He will be joining the show. Excited to talk to him. And then it's been a while, but I'm going to have to do it. A ratings rant. I'm going back. I made a tweet. I gotta have to back myself, and we'll see if I back myself into a corner. But Yuli, how's it going, brother?
It's awesome. I'm in Rock Hill. It got cold today. I want to tell you what, man. It's
cold here.
It's cold here outside. Really cold, like in the 30s. I mean, it was brutal. That's going on. I got my wedding in a few days, so people are flying in. You know, I got my big brother, his family staying with me right now. So that's all exciting.
The hair's looking good. I'm liking the new cut.
Thank you.
Fresh.
I mean, it's rare that I don't wear a hat. A lot of people don't know what they see me as this guy. They don't know that I have a pretty large forehead. So
no, it's a good.
But thank you. Thanks for the compliment.
Yeah, of course. How was your Halloween? Did you guys dress up?
What did I do yesterday? I went and played some pickleball last night. That's what I did. We're like on this corner to where we don't get any kids that come over to the house. Last year, I stayed up all night with a nice little, it was my first year on Halloween. I had a nice little bowl of candy, the good stuff too. I was like, these kids are going to come back every year. Not one trick-or-treater. Dang. I think what I need to do is maybe next year is buy a bunch of those blow up things and do like the whole thing. Try to invite them in.
You got to get your inflatables, man. Get your inflatables out there. Draw people in.
Exactly. Some Mandos. They're like, come on, right through here.
Oh,
candies, big Reese's, Snickers.
I was unfortunately not able to partake in the festivities this year. I actually drove 17 hours yesterday, just straight. Lynchburg to Dallas, just straight on through. But this is my favorite, like the next few days are like my favorite time to scroll through TikTok, to scroll through Instagram, because some of the videos that you see from people is incredible. I wish I would have the video here so I could show you and everyone watching right now. These kids dressed up as Transformers, and their costumes, they can walk around, right? And then all of a sudden, if they're like, transform, they can get down and literally look like a plane, and you don't see the kid at all. They're on the ground. They look like a plane. Another one was Bumblebee. It looks exactly like a car. The size of a kid looks like a car. You can't see the kid at all. And then it's so like, cool. It's like transform. They come up, they press it, the kid falls down. I was like, that's gotta be the coolest thing ever.
I did see your Corky's maybe dressed up.
Yes. Silas, throw the picture up. Kelsey brought Moose Man. He was in his little dragon outfit.
Oh, and, there we go.
He got to stop by the Raiderettes studio to check out everyone over there. They weren't the happiest, he's the only one that really likes being in outfits. The other ones are kind of indifferent about it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
he looks like he's having a time of his life. Though.
She was saying he was sprinting around trying to show off for everyone. Speaking of Kelsey, though, the Raiderettes, they all dressed up for Halloween for one of their practices, and we got some photos, Yuli. So we're gonna see if you and everyone watching, if you guys can tell me which one is Kelsey. Okay. If you already know, don't spoil it, because I have posted some stuff on social media. So there's 4 groups on the Raiderettes. This is the first group. So I also throw up here. Okay, that's the first group. They are going as the evil, like the bad guys, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you've got like the one from Alice from Wonderland. You've got Magnificent. You've got Hook, Cruella de Vil. Okay, next one are princesses. So you got Moana, Ariel, Belle, Snow White. I think Sleeping Beauty's in there. Jasmine. Okay, so those are the princesses. Next one is Care Bears. So shout out to the Care Bears. That was like one of my favorite shows growing up. All the different power Care Bears. And the last one is Toy Story. And you've got, Woody, you've got Slinky, you got Bo Peep, all of that. Now, I don't know about you, Yuli. For me, like there was never, I always try to think of a costume that was just like comfortable because I wanted to be comfortable out there.
Yeah.
But obviously I'm trying to go for something that's kind of funny. Girls have two options, I feel like. Guys don't even have this option. Oh, there's the balloons. Okay. I need to do this next time. Sorry. Girls have two options, right? They can either go for like the funny and like, oh, that was really clever, or they go for like the sexy, right? They turn something into like, I'm a sexy kitten. I'm a sexy plant. I'm literally naming things I'm seeing right now. Sexy water bottle.
Yes.
So out of all those, who do you think Kelsey was? Because I'll say this, all of them had a very similar theme. They all decided to kind of go the same way, except for one.
Was it the last picture and she was in white and sunglasses? No?
Close.
No.
Silas, throw it up. This was a Kelsey show.
Oh, she was just a dinosaur.
She was Rex from Toy Story in the big inflatable. So like it was funny seeing how and she didn't know, like they each thought out their own themes, right? Like, hey, my whole group's gonna be Toy Story. So they all had that, but they didn't really know what the costumes were. And so when I saw that posted, I was like, babe, you realize you were the only one that didn't do like sexy princess or sexy whatever. Like that's
hilarious though.
Yeah,
that is hilarious. You're right, because they do have two options and she went completely left field.
Everyone else went the other way. So I thought that was
fun.
That
looked like a fun night for them.
Oh yeah, definitely fun. Maybe right now Raiders not so fun for the football team. They decided
drama, a lot of drama with your guys' wide receiver too.
Well, okay, so I think that maybe was the way of them saying like Devontae Adams, like give us a second chance, because he seemed checked out. Yeah. And when they were asking higher ups, like, is there any chance that Devontae Adams will be traded? They're like, no way. And I think he was super pissed about that. So they were like, all right, we're going to fire our GM. We're going to fire our head coach, and we're going to fire our offensive coordinator. And so maybe that is a way of being like, hey, give us a second chance.
Well, you need to.
And they benched Jimmy G. That was the first thing the new coach, I think Antonio Pierce did. Mm-hmm. He's like, Jimmy G, you're on the bench. So I don't know. We'll see what ends up happening. I'll be at the game this week against the Giants. You got to win that game, right? You got to win that game at home. So
except for their quarterback looked good, pretty good.
Who? Oh, the Giants quarterback?
Did you see that game? The Jets-Giants game? It was like it was like the lowest scoring game ever. Anyways, it doesn't matter. They all look bad.
Yeah. There's a lot of bad teams. We just don't know which teams are really bad and which teams are just bad.
Pittsburgh's really bad.
Maybe. It's tough to say. I mean, who knows?
They're pretty bad, man.
All right, anyway. So world's courses. So I played at the Battlefield Bedford.
How did you do? I didn't look. I usually look at all the scores and everything. What was who won? Just give me who won.
Chris Dickerson won by 7.
Ooh.
Yeah. I was like 10. I think I was 10 back from him or something like that.
Wow. So you got like top 5 then.
I ended up getting the flu, which I was really freaking annoyed about. But to be fair, whether I was sick or not, like I wasn't coming into this tournament with
Feeling
great
great. Yeah.
form. Well, no, just like I wasn't really practicing ever. So
Yeah.
I kind of forgot I had a disc golf tournament, and I kind of forgot how much it sucks playing a tournament when you haven't practiced, because you start having these expectations of where your game should be doing, and
Mm-hmm.
you didn't. So I had one good round. I ended up having the best round, or tied for the best round, at New London. So Chris shot 5 under the first day. I shot 5 under the final day. So that's a good score out there. But I got to talk to Nate Heinold, who is going to be the TD at Worlds next year. He's the one that him and his team are putting in the course at Ivy Hills. New London, I think, is almost pretty much done. There's a couple holes that I kind of said, hey, I think there needs to be tweaking here. Some OB added, maybe turn this one into an island, just to make a couple of the holes that are kind of on the easy side a little more difficult.
Yeah.
Ivy Hills is a really cool property. It gives me, it's like D-Glow vibes, but on a golf course, right? So, but the golf course is a nice one. It's not like Emporia. It's not like that dirt field that we played in Austin. It's a nice course. So I think people are going to like this Worlds. And I'll say this, Yuli, if it is over 15-mile-per-hour winds, Ivy Hills is going to play tough, which
Is it long?
I love. No, I think they're going to make it a little longer. I think they're worried about moving it as far back as they want to, because of it being a B tier event and the level of players playing at the event. But it was a good length.
Gotcha.
I like the course a lot. I think it's really good as far as where it is, and I think they're going to continue to build it. So we've got videos which I can kind of explain a little bit more towards the end of the show, so you guys can make sure you can tune in and watch some of those previews. But I think you're going to really love New London a lot. I still think that's one of the best World's wooded courses that will play all year. And I'm just really excited to have people come into Lynchburg and kind of see what Lynchburg disc golf is all about. So it'll be exciting times. All right, player movement rumors. Have you heard any of these, Yuli? Okay.
I can't really, but here's the thing. I can't really speak on it because I get in the trenches, you know what I mean? And I've been known to be, to try to recruit some players from time to time. So I can't, I got to stay professional and make sure that everybody knows when I talk to them that it's not going to be broadcasted on Tour Life. So this is all you, this segment, but I will, if it's something I don't know, I will jump in for sure.
Okay. Well, if you're watching live right now, guys, if Yuli, you can really dissect Yuli's face here and try to get a read off of what I'm saying. Maybe he gives some tells away of what I'm saying. So, all right.
Wait,
Alden Harris to Discmania.
Let me put my poker face on.
Alden Harris to Discmania. This was brought to me from Hunter.
This is kind of fire looking though. Sorry, go ahead.
You look like the Unabomber, that poker player.
The Eula Bomber?
The Eula Bomber. Ooh, I like it. So Alden Harris to Discmania. This was brought to Hunter and Trevor's attention because someone said they saw that he joined a Discmania collector group on Facebook. So that
happens every year? That's so funny.
Was that things happen? Was that something he didn't really think was going to be noticed, and no one thought he was going to get caught? Now, I did obviously DM him and say, Alden, what's going on here? Do you have anything to say about this? And he said, I can confirm that means absolutely nothing. He also said, once he has the slightest idea of where I'll be next year, I'll come on Tour Life and tell you.
Oh,
so we might get breaking news. Yeah, we might get breaking news from Alden. As of right now, he's going towards the direction that he has no idea where he's going to end up.
Here's the thing. All right, I'll jump in because I don't know anything about Alden, but I do know this. Dude,
he's a jokester.
You don't go on Discmania Collectors Group just to look around. Unless you're trying to message a couple people because your homie Babcock is telling you this is a good run, that's a good run, these are rare. And here's the other thing: Discmania, their discs, they come out in they don't have a lot of the good stuff. You know what I mean? The collector page is big time because a lot of the runs are very rare that Simon threw and the Eagle threw and all those things. And
Prodigy's
so,
kind of the same way, right? Like there's certain runs that people know with
yes,
Prodigy that it's like you got to try to get those.
I will say that over the years, Prodigy has come out with a lot of discs, and that's not. I feel like their collector market has kind of gone down a little bit because of that reason, because their discs have improved. Discmania, they just have a lot of old. Their plastic that they come up with like every year seems like there's one run. And this probably happens with superstars like Simon and Eagle. They throw one thing, and then everybody wants that one thing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, no, that's my take. I think I'm going to say Alden, good try. He's going to Discmania.
The only thing that gives me pause with it is the fact that he has been known to troll. He has been known to do some stuff for his social media. So it's not out of the craziness that maybe
he might have got me.
Yeah, maybe he was just bored one day and was like, hey, I bet if I join this Facebook group, I can get people to think that I'm going to Discmania. Who knows? But
hey, if he starts joining other places, then we can really dive maybe next week.
You remember when we found out, I think it was last year, we found out that like Dynamic Disc was creating, I think people had found out Dynamic Disc had created like a Ricky Wysocki page before it was announced.
Yeah.
And then I think they freaked out. So then they started just creating random pages for every player. Yeah. They had like a Paul Macbeth one. They probably had one for you. And so they were trying to be like, oh no, we just have like these pages for everyone.
Yeah.
When in fact they were
amateur stuff right there, man. Amateur stuff. We see right through that.
Yeah. Don real quick wants to know what am I doing? I'm with Discraft for another year. So I'm signed through the end of 2024. Yuli, what's your current
I'm signed through next year as well.
Okay. So me and Yuli are both signed
and next year, I think. I signed a 5-year.
Okay, so you're through 2025.
Mm-hmm.
You have 2 more years. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, nice. Next one on is Gannon Burr. Gannon Burr has been seen.
Oh, and I will say I'm a Discrafter for life. It doesn't matter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Gannon Burr has been seen offloading discs on Prodigy Facebook groups. So he's selling a whole bunch of his discs. Now, I have seen him do this in the past as well.
Yeah.
To be fair, though, the last time I saw him doing this, he was also trying to get out of his Prodigy contract. So I don't know if that really holds water of like, hey, guys, no, he did this last year. It's like, well, yeah, he was doing this last year, and I think he thought he was getting out of his contract. So
listen, if I was Prodigy, I would do everything in my power to sign that guy. I would.
You got to keep him and Isaac, right? I mean, that
not just because it's Gannon, but all the stuff that happened before, and then you guys come to terms with him staying for another year. It would really look good if you figured out a way to keep him and be like, no, we squashed all that stuff, and it was to the point where you sign him for another year. If you don't, it's just like one of those things where he was forced to be on the team this year, and then now he's bouncing. You know what I mean? That's what I'm thinking. If I was Prodigy, I would be like, what's the number? Give me the number and let me sign the check.
And we'll make it happen. Yeah. I mean,
right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think if I'm Prodigy right now, my focus is on Gannon and Isaac. And then if I have to let other people go to create room for that, then I think I'm fine with it. I mean, if I'm Prodigy, I'm almost like fine with just having those 2 guys. Like that's my team. Gannon and Isaac, like that's
100%. And Kale, you got to keep Kale.
Well, sure. I wasn't really. I mean, I think Kale's almost kind of like ownership, right? I almost view him as kind of
but he's still a player and he still has contracts. So all those guys have contracts.
For sure. I view him and like Will Shoestring, I view those guys a little bit different than just a another player.
I hear that. Yep.
We'll see kind of what ends up going with that. I think Gannon also said that once he knows what's happening, he's willing to come on here and kind of talk to us about where he's going and what that process and all that stuff looked like as well. Next up, Eagle McMahon. Now, this was brought to my attention by someone, I think in the Discord, or maybe it was on Twitter. And I think they make a really good point. So Eagle just got done getting his shoulder surgery. He ended up going on Instagram Live and kind of talking about the process. And he's saying right now, 4 to 6 months is where he's looking at as far as recovery time. And he's even leaning more towards like the 5 to 6 months. So he doesn't even think 4 is in there. He's also very aware that next year the season's super backloaded. So he's not super concerned about trying to come back early because he knows all the big tournaments are later in the season. So we might not see Eagle play in an event for, another half year from now, right? That makes me kind of think he's not leaving Discmania, because if he's not throwing a disc, he said he's not going to be able to pick up a disc or really throw a disc for 3 to 4 months. If he's not doing any of that,
get your company check.
It almost makes me feel, it makes me feel like he's comfortable with his disc. He's comfortable with like the recovery process, coming back, and then he doesn't have to learn a whole new bag. To me, that seems like that would be a lot to ask, is come back in the middle of the season and also learn a new bag at the same time. I think that might be a little bit too much to ask. And so this leads me to believe that I think he's staying with Discmania. I don't think he's going anywhere.
I can agree with that. Yeah.
So we'll see if that ends up happening, but he's also, the other big name outside of Gannon that their contract's up at the end of the year. Speaking of surgeries though, Kona also had her surgery. I don't know if you saw, has a crazy scar, man.
Yeah.
That stuff, that is wild. And it looks like everything kind of went well as well. So both Eagle, Kona, we are wishing you guys a quick and speedy and healthy recovery with both of your guys' surgeries. Before we get Terry to come on, I need to add one extra thing. So, Yuli, if you have something to chat about real quick, I'm going to find this link real quick so I can give it to Silas.
Well, you know what? You played a tournament this last weekend. So did I. C tier. 2 miles from my house at Boyd Hill.
What was the decision behind that?
I was right next to my house, and I enjoy playing small tournaments.
Okay. Fair.
This guy took me to the very end. 924 rated player. 924 took me to the brink. 20 holes first round, 20 holes second round. Took it to hole 38, tie ball game.
Ooh.
It was wild. Ooh. Yeah. I ended up squeaking out the dub.
Okay.
But this kind of goes into when you start your rant about ratings. I want to go on there as well.
Yes, that'll be a good one.
Because I had a blast. Yeah. I had a great group. There was only 5 of us in the open. And I had an absolute blast.
It sounds like me and you might have some of the same points based off of what kind of the context clues you just gave me there. Seems like we might have some of the same points. Silas, do we have Terry yet, or can I go into disc golf costumes real quick? Oh, okay. All right. We have Terry. So we'll hold off the disc golf costumes and we'll bring Terry on because we got a lot to discuss. So the man, the myth, the legend, the disc golf guy, Terry Miller joins Tour Life for the first time. How's it going?
Good. How you guys doing tonight?
We appreciate your time, man. I know I listened to like all 3 hours of the podcast last night. It helped me on my drive. So I know hopefully you're not all podcast out and you're ready to go for tonight.
Yeah, sure. Whatever you guys need, I think I'm ready to go for it. Sure.
Sweet.
Terry, good to see you, man. How many? Before we go any farther, he's gonna get it. He was gonna go into some costume pictures, but how many times did you get tagged? I know you got to be like one of the more popular costumes as far as disc golfers out there.
I'll say this year I didn't get tagged in any this year. I don't know if they happened or not. I didn't get tagged this year. The last couple of years, I feel like they've been popping up from time to time.
Yeah.
But if somebody was out there and was sporting any this weekend, they did not tag me. And I'll admit, for the first time in a few years, I finally went with somewhat of a costume myself. But I kept it on the down low, and I didn't go too public with it. But I was the disc golf Guy Fieri this weekend when I was out in Vegas.
I love
and plenty of people have already said I kind of look like him. I definitely have his physique. And so I went with the shirt and the earrings and the bracelets and the chain and the sunglasses. And next thing you know, I think I completed the costume and got plenty of remarks about it. So it sounds like it went all right for me.
Awesome.
If someone was trying to be Terry Miller, the disc golf guy, for Halloween, what are like the bullet points that, you being the man himself, what do you think needs to happen for it to pull off the look?
I think you have to start with a button-up shirt of some kind. That's kind of one of my signatures. I know a lot of our fellow broadcasters are in some kind of polo. I'm very particular to a button up. It can be somewhat loud, but only certain patterns and colors are within the realm that are acceptable. But definitely a button up shirt. I feel like, I had to trim down to a goatee to go with the Guy Fieri, but some kind of facial hair goatee / an attempt at a beard. Lately I've been going a little more natural with the hair, but I feel like hair of some kind of doing your hair in some capacity is required. Now I've had a few different styles, but yeah, you have to put effort into the hair in some way. And then if you're sporting a disc golf bag in the front, like I do, and you're carrying a little extra weight around in the front, that's not going to hurt you either. So I feel like those are some of the main components.
Sunglasses or no sunglasses?
Usually sunglasses, depending on what my role is. Sunglasses often tucked into the shirt. Here, these are my clear glasses that I use for when I'm on mopeds in Thailand. But yeah, like tucked into the top of the shirt is a way to go. But sunglasses, you're right. And if you're still out there listening, blenders, I know you're all like on Deion Sanders these days, but I was on blenders before Deion Sanders was. So blenders, I'm ready for a few free pair if you want to send them my way. So good call. Yeah. Sunglasses as well. And then if you take off the sunglasses, you definitely have to have like a red face because you refuse to wear sunscreen.
So maybe a little blood.
Sunburn. Yeah, a little flush
action. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so I want to jump into it because we have some listeners on here that are new to disc golf, and I'm sure they probably have seen you either on coverage or have seen your commentary on YouTube, or maybe they have seen your podcast on Smashbox as well. But can you give a little background to kind of how, where the transition of you as a player to you as a media personality to now as a commentator on the Disc Golf Network, how that kind of all transpired?
And before you get started, one thing I also just saw on the interwebs, somebody post a nice little video of you in like the 2001 United States Disc Golf Champ. Was that the one floating around?
Tour posted that.
Yeah, the Pro Tour threw a flashback. It was an episode that I think had part of the USDGC coverage in it. But the shot was me throwing up at Sandy Point Resort, one of my favorite places in the world, and I was throwing a putt playing in the team tournament up there, and I think that was from 2002. If I recall. But yeah, it was old school, and it was funny to see so many people reacting like, "Oh, I never knew he even played."
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
So yeah, so I'll get into that. So I picked up my first disc in the early 90s when I was in like 7th grade. 7th, 8th grade. Played for quite a few years immediately, throughout college. Found that I loved playing, but also that I loved the kind of the behind the scenes stuff. So running tournaments. I think I ran my first tournament when I was like 18 or 19, sanctioned tournament, which kind of at the time was a big deal. Not so much today, but ran tournaments, did the club thing, started doing demos and clinics. And next thing you know, I quit my corporate job in 2003 after graduating after 2 years of college. I quit my corporate job at Kohl's and just made disc golf a living ever since then. And from 2003 to 2010, it was designing courses, running leagues, running dozens or hundreds of tournaments, clinics, demos, selling discs, all those things. And then in 2010, in January, in the very room I'm sitting in, I recorded my first ever video blog. And I just thought, well, I'll just talk about what's going on in disc golf, and started to record that. And then it was like a year or two later is when I went to the memorial, and I'm like, hey, like, instead of just me talking about like the newest products that are out, why don't I interview like Avery and Nico and Climo? Like I'm friends with all those people. Yeah, I'll just interview them. That'll give my blog a little bit more cred. And then that's when I found out about things like B-roll and learned how to do a little bit of more editing and things of that nature. And from there, 2013 or 2014, we started Smashbox, which was the live broadcasting.
So it's been 10 years. It's been over 10 years almost.
Yeah, 2010. January of 2010 is when I started my very first blog. Like, coming up on almost 14 years to the day. And Disc Golf Planet was doing live disc golf around 2009, 2008, 2009, somewhere in that time frame, and they were doing live. And myself and Johnny V, my best friend, we were volunteering countlessly. Like, we were on pretty much almost every production they did, and we were just volunteering. Like, I was doing some reporting, I was doing some hosting, whatever they wanted. I was just there to volunteer. And then it was 2014, we said, hey, we think they're being somewhat inefficient with the way they're doing it. It was insanely expensive. And for what they were putting out, it was expensive. And that was when YouTube was switching into a slightly different model about allowing free live broadcasting. And we just thought we could build a better mousetrap. And we then ended up going live like 6 or 8 or 10 times in 2014. And then a couple years later, 2016 rolled around and the Pro Tour started. And Smashbox was the exclusive live provider for all disc golf. We were the only one. There's one or two other outfits that tried and failed pretty quickly, but we were the only one that had any form of traction or consistency. And then, kind of Pro Tour 2.0 came along, and we were even more involved. And now they were up to 10 or 12 or 15 events. And now, we were kind of the back end for the last 3 years, part of the back end of the Pro Tour for the last 3 years. So
Smashbox started as live disc golf, and then you ended up putting a podcast together on the same YouTube channel.
Yeah. So we and meanwhile, I was still dabbling in all of my post-production and learning what that was and going from event to event on my own. But then in 2014, we said, yeah, let's invest. And it was 10 or 15 or 20 grand at the time, which nobody was paying anything for. And so we invested in it. And then when we got to the end of the year, it was November. And we're like, well, USDGC is done. And what are we going to do to remain relevant until the next probably Memorial? Because that used to be kicking off the year in the biggest way. So we said, oh, well, let's just do a podcast during the off season. And then we thought the day like the Memorial started, like our podcast would go away for the entire season, and then we just pick it back up. Well, so November,
it's a little backwards, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, in November of 2014, at that point, we started the podcast, not having any idea really what we were doing there either, because podcasts were not what it is today. And we did the podcast from 2014, and 478 episodes later, we just wrapped up last night's after 3.5 hours.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So yeah, that's the long journey. That's the abridged but yet long journey.
So the Smashbox going into kind of like the Disc Golf Pro Tour and the Disc Golf Network, you and you just kind of like, were you approached by the Disc Golf Pro Tour as like, hey, we want you being a commentator as well as also with Smashbox coming on board, or was that like your idea of trying to get behind a mic?
No, not at all. I've, most people have no idea that live disc golf for the first few iterations by Smashbox were two people, like Johnny V in Milwaukee and me on the ground. I was carrying the unit to transmit the signal. I was filming and I was commentating, all from one camera right next to the players. Like, that was the whole operation. What now is like 29 people, used to be 2. And obviously it's grown and it's a million times better now. But we eventually got to 2 or 3 people, and then we had cameramen, and then we were still commentating from on the ground, and the remote booth was an insane idea and not really plausible even. And so when Steve Dodge started the Pro Tour, and he called me up and said, here's my idea for the Pro Tour, and we were good friends and we talked about it, he said, one thing that's going to set this tour apart from every other tournament is we're going to guarantee live coverage of every event. And we, again, were the only ones doing it. And so that was me and like 2 other people, me, Johnny V, and another buddy of ours. And so it wasn't a matter of like, oh, this is, I'm dying to get on a mic. It was a matter of like, this is all the people we have.
Gotcha.
I'm going to do this job. Johnny V's going to press the buttons and I'm going to talk. Like,
Gotcha.
that was the division of labor, because that's all the labor we had. And
so you guys almost, the Pro Tour almost hired you guys as like a production contractor
100%.
initially, of like, okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
all right. I didn't know that. Gotcha.
Yeah, they basically came along and said, we're going to contract you in 2016 for the 5 live events that we have. And that was the only semblance we had of a contractor schedule, was of guaranteed, because no one else was investing in live. Like it just wasn't a thing yet. And it was really expensive compared to the almost nothing that was otherwise being paid for media. And so only a few tournaments, you were a big deal if you had live disc golf, and it's kind of still true today. But that was one of the major deciding, differentiators from the Pro Tour, from a national tour or any other event in the world, was that he was guaranteeing live would be there, and that was me and Johnny V.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I've got tons of questions, and we've got some listener questions too that decide not to hold back, which I'm sure you'll be excited to hear some of these coming up as well. So okay. I want to jump into these first off. The first thing outside of like, obviously I knew about your videos and you making, hundreds of these commentary videos, and you called them vlogs basically, and that was a terminology that kind of just died at a certain point in time.
Mm-hmm. But hey, I was 41, number 4, video vlog 41. Terry Miller interviewed me at the 2010 World Championships,
and I'll never you were forget doing well in Crown Point. Yeah, we were in a loud, because I remember being like, "Oh
room. My gosh, I'm so important. I'm getting interviewed right now. I'm doing good." That was episode 41, or video vlog 41. Anyways,
yeah. So the two things that when I came into disc golf, the 2 things that I was told and like kind of introduced to you was the Disc Golf Guy YouTube channel, and the second one was Putting World Champion.
Okay.
Now, sorry, don't worry about the balloons. This is a thing we have to deal with. I can do all sorts of crazy things over here if we really want to get crazy. So, what is your thoughts now on the PDGA saying no, Terry Miller actually is not a putting world champion?
Well, for starters,
there was never a thing. That was never a thing.
No. To be clear, I was not ever the putting world champion. In 2011, what they did is they had the putting qualifiers like they do every Worlds, and that was one of the few places I was like, hey, because I wasn't winning any distance competitions, and so edge and putting were the 2 places that I had a chance to do well outside of maybe playing. And so they had all the qualifiers, and I think I was in the top, I don't even know, 4 or 5 in terms of all the qualifiers. And I didn't know what that meant at the time because I had already attended like 10 or 12 Worlds, and every Worlds runs their competitions differently. I had attended every World since 96 at that point. So here we are in 2011. And then in 2011, they had us go down to the wharf in Santa Cruz, right?
Oh, nice.
And they set up like 4 or 5 baskets, and they had all these different stations, and they went in reverse order. So if you had 22 points, you went first. If you had 23 points in the qualifier, you went next, so on and so forth. So they go through all these people, and then I'm at the very end because I think the 1 or 2 people that had qualified higher than me didn't show. Like Yeti might have been one of them. He had me by a point or 2. So they go through all these people, and we get to the very end, and then it's me to go, and the score's been set. I don't even know at what number. We'll just say 30. The score had been set, and you have 2 minutes to run around to these 8 different stations and throw all these putts. Do you remember this? In the sand. Yeah.
Oh, you're playing sand disc golf.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
And the putts range from probably 18 feet to 35 or 40 feet. And you had like 2 minutes to do this loop, and there's like 5 putters at each station. And I remember running through, and I was the last guy to go. The score had been set relatively high, and I'm running, I'm going through, and I'm doing all right. I finally find a rhythm after getting really nervous. I find a rhythm, and I start nailing a bunch. We get to the very end. I throw up the last putt, and I was like, oh, I'm short. And then everyone starts screaming and says, no, you have another station. So I run over to the next station, not realizing I had 1 more to go, and I hit like 3 out of 5, and I won it. Won the whole thing. And like there's I don't know, a few hundred people down there.
It was awesome.
It was definitely a career highlight
too.
Barefooted.
You had to take his shoes off. I remember that.
Well, you can't have socks in your shoes.
I
That's like a
remember
big
that
no.
specifically to where he like stopped, and we're like, "No, dude, you got another one." He's like, oh, runs over there, makes a couple. That was awesome. Yeah.
So it was, yeah. Anyway, so I considered that the speed putting champion or speed world putt, whatever, but it wasn't like our standard putting that we've kind of standard. I'll even use standard in quotes now. The putting competition for years has been varied at Worlds,
Gotcha.
and Jay Yeti could give you 4 hours probably on that as one of the top contenders year after year. But there's a few times I finished near the top in the putting competition, and that particular year I won the speed putting. There's a vlog on it somewhere out there. Because I think I interviewed Josh Anthon, who I beat, and he was considered arguably one of the best putters on the planet at the time.
Still one of the best putters.
Yeah, and I beat him, and then I rubbed it in. So
nice.
Yeah, but you won. That was I remember. It was the world championship putting competition.
I guess it just was a weird format.
A different format doesn't mean anything. It was still. We have weird formats all the time. One year we threw downhill for the long drive competition. What was that in Michigan?
Michigan in 08. Yeah, 08, Michigan in 08. Yeah. So
that was my only top 10 in the long drive competition.
Dang, I should have showed up if it was super downhill. I should have showed up with an Ultra Star. Just let that thing glide all the way down, baby.
Yeah.
So don't try to
call it whatever it is. I think I don't know if I'm more proud of that or in 08, I won the only offered pro glow world championships over at Colebrook. Or did you do that, Yuli? Probably.
I was there, but I definitely didn't.
I know
Colebrook destroyed me in the tournament. That ruined my whole tournament, that place.
And that's the only reason I cashed is because I destroyed that course.
Yeah.
So they had glow. They had glow that year. On like a Friday night, and I went and did the glow, and I won. I've won more money at that course than probably any park in the country. It's super tight and technical and short and wooded. And then I played it in glow, and I destroyed the glow field as well. So I'm proud of that one as well. Those are two big moments.
Champion.
I mean,
putting.
I mean, whatever. Or I'm just some guy who doesn't know anything on the microphone.
Okay, so back to Brodie's original question though.
Yeah, because technically, no matter what you want to call it, the PDGA does not recognize it as a world champion anymore. They have decided to strip all that, even though it was there. They claim that it never was a thing. What are your thoughts on that?
I side with Climo, who has notoriously said those are nothing but a bunch of reindeer games anyway. Like I'm good with that. They are extra events at Worlds that are fun. They don't always have the top competitors that could win it, even playing in them. Am I proud of those moments? Of course, but at the same time, I'm not legitimately demanding any sponsors make up a commemorative disc for me to recognize them. If they wanted to, fine, but I'm not. That's not in my demands.
Okay, fair enough.
I'm okay with that. It's cool to be a doubles world champ. I filmed a ton of those. Like, those are really cool things to happen, but they are currently still basically side games to the worlds.
Sure.
That's how I feel.
I just didn't like that the PDJ is like trying to act like they never classified them as a world championship, when in fact there is articles written on their website saying world championship. So that's my only take on it. But
sure,
we can move on. We can move on. All right, talk to me about this disc golf storage business. What is this? You have boxes or something? What's going on here?
I've got all of your shipping and disc golf needs. No, a number of years ago, again, backing way up, I used to sell on eBay way back in the day, way back when eBay was in its heyday, and eventually when I got back into selling even more discs online through Facebook and such, there was one option. Shipping in boxes became a new standard at some point, right? And, people were doing bubble envelopes with a piece of cardboard, and then like the next graduation was to cardboard boxes. And there was one gentleman in the Midwest that made them, and I didn't care for his business practices, and so I thought, well, I'm going to ship my own discs in my own boxes, and did a lot of research and went out and had a die made up and had these produced to make these shipping boxes. And then after a year or two of just sitting on that, I was like, oh, maybe I should like really offer these up and sell them to people. And so I took a play off of the Saturday Night Live skit and offer up my disc in a box, which are made for shipping discs to people. And now, I don't want to say 9 out of 10, but I bet you quite a few discs that either of you receive or pass through you at some point or around you are likely in a box that I had made up at some point. And they're great because people recycle them and everything else. And they protect your disc better. So I created it again, like an entrepreneur. I feel like, just like the live, like I felt I could build a better mousetrap, so to speak, or improve on a product. I didn't invent cardboard or boxes or mailing, but I feel like my boxes are better than what we're currently out there. And if people want to use them, I'll ship them to them.
Disc in a box. I don't know if we should be having you two saying those types of phrases.
I'm not saying, as you see, I'm not trying to say it at all. I'll let you promote it as much as you want.
Yeah.
I already know what happens when I get close to saying stuff like that. So, all right, next topic. Something that I think you have, seen over the years is and we'll kind of get, I do want to get a little bit kind of into the hater talk a little bit, because I like how you go after people. I respect that a lot. But before we go there, so a topic that is brought up a whole lot is commentary, and you and Yuli both are in post and live commentary. What kind of training, like professional training, if any, is being done right now for the Disc Golf Network?
Short answer is not enough, in my opinion, and I think they recognize and know that. My background is in live disc golf commentary, has been nothing but my own experience, and I think that's the same for most of our commentators, whether they're color analysts or whether they're play-by-play or host/play-by-play. And I would go as far as saying I don't think there has been enough training in a formal or professional capacity, and I know that is a piece of feedback that the tour has accepted and hopefully is striving to address. Because we want it. I know I want it. I know Nate Doss wants it, and Val, all of us, any one of us that sits there, as far as I know, any one of us, if we were, given a training or a lesson, whether it's a multi-day or a 10-hour seminar or a half-hour feedback session or anything in between, we would take constructive criticism and professional training and feedback. But that currently isn't happening.
You guys started something which I thought was something that was very needed on the live coverage, and that was you started like the pre-show, or what is it called now?
Tournament Central.
Tournament Central. And that was something that I thought was a huge thing, because you tune in to disc golf at 3:00 and then all of a sudden it's like, all right, we're on hole 1, and there's just like no build up. Yeah, there's no build up, there's nothing. Whatever happened to those 2 people? There was like 2 people that were there for like a week that were doing Tournament Central, and then like they just disappeared. What went down there?
I don't know all the details let me before I even go any further with that. I think it's of note. I am not an employee of the Disc Golf Pro Tour or the Disc Golf Network. I'm a independent contractor. Well, Smashbox was contracted, both the services of me and Johnny V. For the last 3 years, we've had a contract. But I'm an independent contractor essentially versus some of the paid employees. Now, is
that all the commentary people?
I was just going to say most of the commentary people are, the exception now being Brian Earhart. I want to say he's the from a talking head perspective, he's the only full-time employee of the network versus myself, Philo, Ian, Sexton, Doss, Jenkins, Zoe, Charlie, Juliana. So everyone at Perkins, every one of those people are contracted in some capacity. So I feel like that's worth making that distinction right off the top. And your question was what again?
So you guys started the Tournament Central thing.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah.
And you started with 2 people that no one had any idea who these people were, and then they just like vanished.
Yeah.
Like a week later or something.
Yeah,
were they just terrible?
I think the initiative was to have the show, this Tournament Central, which, is trying to do what you were, asking for in terms of a lead up and then a post game as well. And I think one of the biggest challenges there is that it was largely remote, and they were remote from each other, and they hadn't worked together. And they both, Liz knows disc golf considerably, and the other gentleman, I think Andre, didn't know disc golf quite as well. And then you put them with a little bit of a time delay, and that they're remote also then from a producer. And I think it exaggerated any challenges that they might have had in getting comfortable. And so ultimately, they both, I don't know if they both got frustrated, or I can't really speak to exactly how it all went down, but I know that, then there was a different combo that was kind of tried out. And then eventually I think Brian more or less, stepped in and said, hey, I'm more than happy to help be part of this as well. I have some ideas. And then it was Music City. I was the first host of the reboot of that. And I did it from this very room, and Perkins and Earhart were on the ground, and that went really well. But you had 3 very seasoned, talkers, so to speak. And then it continued to still evolve, where we got Dustin involved and Grant Zellner and a number of other people. But we were pulling from a pool now of a lot more of our established and regular, talking heads. Mm-hmm. And I think those few people were really up against a tall task, and I don't think the technology and the smoothness of the overall show was quite there yet. So I don't want to say it was set up to fail, because that's clearly not it, but there was just I think the challenges were greater than I think we even realized, especially with a couple of new faces. So if that kind of answers your question.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, how the relationships went or who did what or how that all unfolded, but right now it looks like we're leaning more into, established commentators.
Makes sense. What are your thoughts? Was there any discussion with Smashbox getting snubbed this year at the Grippies for the longest podcast award?
I didn't know of said categories.
Do you know who you guys lost to?
No idea.
You're on the show, brother.
Oh, okay.
You're on the show.
What, that you guys are longer than we are?
First time Grippies winner. Let's go, you.
It's huge. It was
How does that
huge.
make any?
It was
Wait,
huge. It was
what
huge.
is this
I don't know.
category?
I don't know,
What is
man.
this category?
We didn't give the award away.
I don't. Yeah,
I don't know.
The Grippies is not us, brother. We just
That's
won the
me.
award. We just accepted it. I don't know what you want.
Yeah, I don't.
Tell me, what's the premise to the award?
Ooh, good question.
The award is literally called longest podcast. Other than that, I don't know. That's just what the award's called.
Number one criticism, besides being on me, that of our podcast is that we're too effing long, and somehow you jokes come
It's
along.
tough. It's tough. It's tough.
I don't know, man.
I know.
Maybe next year.
I think this.
Maybe next
this is
year.
what I think.
Maybe next
Terry.
year.
Listen, I think it's because we're so hard to listen to that it feels like it's like 6 hours. You know. So maybe that's a compliment we can throw your guys' way.
The time flies when listening to Smashbox.
Exactly.
You know?
I mean, who's working the stopwatch over there? Nico? I mean, like, not realizing how long we're going. I mean, give me a break. Like, that doesn't make any sense.
You know, something that you guys can work on in the off season. Maybe come out next year and just give it your all. Who knows? Maybe you can pull it off.
Almost 4 freaking hours last night.
But it was like this. How fast did you get home, Brodie, listening to it?
Oh, no problem. I was flying through Memphis, flying through Knoxville, Little Rock. See you later. I was good.
I mean, I don't know. Okay, I mean, if there's not any inside collusion by whatever the foundation,
I
didn't even know.
Yeah, I don't even know who really puts on the awards. We just get an email that says you've won a Grippy. So as far as I'm concerned, it might be an anonymous award. I don't know really who's
for what it's worth, I didn't know we were even in the running or there was a nomination or that it happened.
That's awesome
so
that you guys
tells you how much I'm concerned.
That's awesome that you guys were in there too, though.
Yeah, you were close. You were close. It was close, apparently. All right. So next year, there's been I almost said scuttlebutt, and now I did say it, which I don't know if that's a word that either one of you guys ever use in your vocabulary, but there has been some scuttlebutt about wanting to see Terry Miller back on the disc golf course. And you got two people right here that do practice round videos. You got me and Ezra, and then you got Yuli on the Joe Mess side. What are the chances of seeing the disc golf guy on a practice round video next year?
As our producer would say, the chance is greater than 0, but that's about all that I can say. I don't.
What if we find a sandy beach where you can run around?
I mean, if every hole is like sub 300 feet and they're technical, then maybe then I have a chance to not embarrass myself.
Portland Open.
What? Portland Open? What are you talking? Those are wide open 700 footers. I'm not an idiot.
Sounds perfect.
Yeah.
Throw that roller game off.
I was thinking,
like a Waco. A Waco could be nice.
A Waco or maybe an Idlewild. Those would be. Or let's just go to Colebrook. Like, let's make a special trip over to Colebrook. And there's my best chance to look all right. I didn't fully embarrass myself during this year's Celebrity Pro-Am, or last year's, I guess, and that might be the highest note I can go out on. I don't know. Putting myself on camera, as funny as it sounds, I get nervous too, because I clearly haven't been filmed like everybody else. So I don't know if I want to set myself up for that kind of scrutiny.
You might have been in front of the camera more than anybody ever in disc golf history.
But not golfing. Golfing in front of the camera. And my skills aren't what they were. Yeah, my skills weren't what they were in 2007.
Didn't you shoot at 18 under par once on your home course?
Yeah, on a pitch and putt local league course.
I remember the stories flying back in the day.
Short and technical is my bread and butter. That's for sure.
Well, next time you come down to Dallas, I'll have to take you out the Dashes. It'll be your favorite course.
Okay.
I played 2 rounds out there today. It's phenomenal. Absolutely loved it.
Okay.
Okay, speaking of tournaments and courses, what is your all-time favorite tournament? Do you have one that sticks out to you?
Colebrook's off the table. Enough about Colebrook.
This is more on the commentary side, not so much maybe you playing, because people want to. Yeah, people, newer disc golfers want to maybe have something of being like, hey, I've never heard of this tournament. I've never seen coverage. This is a good one to go back and watch. What's something that you can give someone, one of these 2020 disc golfers, something to watch that you thought was a great tournament?
I mean, one of my favorite ones to always call, and it's the number one course in the country, in the world, is Maple Hill. And I largely say that too because I've spent more time at Maple Hill than any other course on tour, right? So I'm more intimately familiar with that course than OTB, right? So that, to me, that's when I think back to some of my favorite memories and some of the courses and the shots and the difficulty. And people, unless you've been to Maple Hill, I don't think you can appreciate how difficult a tee shot like hole 6 or hole 7 really is. You think of the fun stuff on 14 or the fun stuff on 8, but 6 and 7 are just so challenging. So and then even the difficulty on 18. I mean, our top level pros make 18 look so manageable, and that's why Steve Dodge has effed with it every year for the last 20 years, because people keep playing it better. And so when I think about top level golf, I think about anything that's been at Maple Hill throughout the years. And I don't know if it fully comes through on camera, but I hope it comes through in the commentary and the excitement that it's a special place.
Yeah, no doubt. I love that. And I've always told people, I think the number one destination place, like if you were going to do a guy's trip to play some disc golf, you do a week or half a week at Maple Hill, and then you do the other half up at Smugs. It's super drivable between those two, and they're close enough to where you can knock them both out back to back, and you'll get 3 awesome courses and have a really good time. So I think it works for the pros, and I also think it works for the AMs, because especially Maple Hill, there's so many different layouts that you can play to where it's just different every time.
And it's exciting for you guys to call it because the holes are so hard down the stretch that you just never know what's going to happen. And it's usually tight, like this year with Matty O winning from the second card, like it wasn't even close. And that's so bizarre that, the lead, just so you know, the lead card also won the Grippy, I think, this year for biggest choke job of the year.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean,
it's pretty hilarious, but
that's a whole nother story. Like, when's the last time we saw somebody ice out, so to speak, the entire card by just taking it away from them off the chase? Like, that's a whole nother, insane story of the year.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah, and I agree with you that Smuggler's Notch, has a little bit for everybody. Again, of those two courses, I would play 10 rounds at Brewster before I'd play a second round at Fox Run Meadows, just because of my preference of golf. But both the fact that you have those options on the same property in this beautiful place and this great time of year in fall, I totally agree. Yeah, make those trips for sure.
All right, let's get this in the books here. What is the proper way to pronounce the number 1 FPO player in the world? What are we going with?
Kristin Tatar.
That's what you're going with in 2024. You're doing that every time?
I'm not saying that's what I'm going with, but
that is the proper way.
I feel like if you're going all in, you have to go all in on her first name as well, or you can. Kristin Tatar is, in my opinion, again, I'm deaf in one ear, which is a whole nother story as a commentator. But when I hear her say her name, that's what I hear. And for anyone that's mishearing me, I am not adding an extra R in there. I am not saying Tatar. I'm saying Tatar. Okay. But what I can tell you,
why does your face look like a ventriloquist person when you're saying it? He's like, you don't
I'm
like
really
nothing
concentrating.
moves. Yeah, nothing moves except for your mouth. You're just like
Tatar. So what I am convinced of, and what I will say is, even if I am not 100% correct on that and do not have it 100% nailed, it is much closer than the previous version of Tatar.
Okay.
I know
fair.
that much. I've had enough Estonians and other Europeans confirm with me. Some have said I'm dead on, some have said I'm really close, but all have said I'm much closer than Tatar.
Am I a terrible person when I play with someone that is from a different country that doesn't, English is not their language, and I ask them what their name is and they say something to me and I say, what was that? And then they say it again and I'm like, okay, I can't say that. Am I a terrible person for like calling them Peter when maybe their name is like
Pita?
something like something different? Something like I can't
like
roll my.
That's his name. Dang it!
This is an interesting question because I've never been really. I mean, my name's not. I guess you can't really mispronounce my
Brodie?
name.
What if you showed up and every announcer in Europe called you Brodie Smith?
Because they couldn't say Brodie. I mean, I couldn't pronounce my L's when I was a kid. I actually also was, I don't know if you were born with deaf in one ear, but I actually was born deaf in both ears. So I had like a really bad speech problem growing up. So like I would say yellow, like I couldn't say the L's. And I don't know what tangent I'm going on, but if I was in a different country and they were having a hard time pronouncing my name for whatever reason, I wouldn't, but I'm also like, I'm not probably the best person to ask that question because I don't really get offended by anything.
People in other countries like pronounce my name like spot on.
Oh, they're better.
Like, oh yeah, they're way better. They roll their R's, they get after it. Here in America, it's just like goes all over the place.
Yeah, I've always I don't want to be rude, but at the same time, like there's certain words that I struggle that are American words that I struggle. I mean, you hear it right here.
Yeah.
You listen enough to this podcast, people are telling me like it's not.
I struggle with it too.
It's not exception. It's especially, or well, I don't even know what the word is.
Yeah,
like,
it's not.
Especially, which is again, that's part of us learning in that I used to say, especially like EX, especially like especially, and Nate Doss used to say it all the time as well. And once somebody corrected me, I think on our podcast, and said it's not especially, it's especially. I then tried to take note of that, and of course I want to improve. And then when I noticed Nate was saying it while we were doing a show one time, I said, hey, just so you know, it's easy to do. This is a word I screw up or have screwed up for the last 30 years, just so you know. And he works really hard to fix that mistake. And that's maybe, as a side note, that's maybe something that I hate is people, like there's words that people didn't realize that they're saying wrong. So there's one problem there, and then there's another problem when like you don't have to be an absolute jerk about it, and somebody's probably, if they know it, and if you give constructive feedback and criticism, then somebody can improve on it. And that's why I've said for decades, when someone's like, hey man, hey fat ass, you suck. Okay, cool. or you could say, hey, just so you know, you're saying especially wrong, and it's not like one of those is useful. The other one is not, right? And so, I mean, I know that's the whole definition of constructive criticism, but some people just don't get that, and they just think it's easier just to be a jerk and not really do anything that's going to help you improve.
So
is it?
The one that got me was
especially. No, especially.
It's especially, and what most people do, I think.
Am I saying that right?
Yeah, that's
especially. That's the word that people hate me saying it. So I'm trying to get better at it. Especially.
Yep.
I think I say X. I definitely think I say especially.
You put an X in there just like I did for decades. Because I never knew otherwise. Like I just flat out started pronouncing the word wrong.
Why is further wrong?
Well,
because
it's no. It depends. If you're talking about
disc golf.
No, it depends. It like if you want to say, hey, let's go further into this. That is correct.
Right.
But if I want to say, hey, I throw farther than you, you would say when you're talking about actual distance, like literal distance, it's farther. Just think of your boy Crush's shirt who says I throw farther than you, because it's like he used to have on the back of the Crush shirt, Robbie Bratton, right? Mm-hmm. You used to wear that shirt. So I use this as my thing to remember it by. When it's actual distance, it's farther, and when it's figuratively, it's further.
See, that helps me.
I also didn't know that. Until 5 years ago.
But here's the thing, guys. We're talking about the English language, and I put syrup on my waffles, but I put syrup on my pancakes.
Syrup?
So
syrup?
This is tough. It's tough to figure it out. But,
syrup? What is syrup? I've never heard of syrup before.
It's delicious. You should try it out. It's very good. All right, let's keep going. We got a couple more questions. I don't want to
go down that route or that route.
Yeah.
Right?
A couple more questions before we get you out of here.
Fatty Brodie, you shut up, fatty. You should know how to say that, Brodie. What is your deal?
All right, so let's talk about a little bit of the negative feedback, because have you seen, like, when you first were putting out YouTube videos, was there negative feedback on those, or have you seen, as the sport gets bigger and bigger, as you have gotten more and more popular, more of that negative feedback?
It definitely has grown. One, because I was one of the only people putting out content. And so, not to say that, well, you have to be happy with because it's the only thing. I mean, there was clearly even negativity there. Some people just flat out don't like me, don't like the way I pronounce things, because I have a Midwestern accent. And so some people just get really hung up if I say bag or bag wrong, or however they want to, say that it's said. Some people think I have some kind of, attitude about a player, or just because, or I make a joke that doesn't land, or I make a joke that does land, but you just don't like it. Like, great example is the Gannon Burr situation not too long ago, where I said something about his putting and me, seeing a beard being grown. Like, most people knew that was funny and or true. But if you're a huge, like, hardcore Gannon fan and you're on the fence of not liking me, well, like, that's going to just send you over the edge. You definitely hate me for that. Like, and that's, I mean, those are just the numbers I have to play with, right? If I'm going to take any kind of risk whatsoever. So yeah, it has definitely grown. And then it's also grown because I'm sure other commentators and other figureheads have come into the sport and they just prefer somebody else. So again, because our society is all jacked up, it's not good enough that you just may prefer Yuli over me. You have to then tell me that you prefer Yuli over me. Mm-hmm. And it's like, okay, thanks, I guess. So yeah, it definitely, and then of course, just the sport, the numbers, right? The numbers have grown. Here, one of my greatest semi-analogies is there's like literally Facebook groups of I hate Joe Buck, or I hate Troy Aikman, or I hate whomever, right? There's Facebook groups, there's probably Twitter or Reddit threads and subthreads, but all these hate around all these multi-million-dollar professional broadcasters for a billion different reasons. And you have to think, how much can they possibly care? If they're doing their job that the network likes, and they are by and large on the right path, you just can't win over everybody. And I cannot stress that enough, that as much as I'd love for people to like what I'm doing and hopefully enjoy it, some people are never going to like my dad jokes. Some people are never going to like a little bit of sarcasm or a throwback to something that happened in 1999. Okay, like, as long as that's just a smaller portion, and it's not the majority. The problem is that smaller portion is so loud about it that they feel like they're so much more, right? So I don't know. Is Joe Buck like staying up at night worried about what some ass clown somewhere said on Twitter about him? I mean,
I think certain people do, because certain people have like that ego and they want to either be always right or they want everyone to like them. But then there's, I think, other people that they see it as a 9-to-5 job. They go in, they check in, they check out, and then they're done. So I think that's how you kind of can see some people that stay in it for a long time and some people that can't stay in it for a long time, because like if you cannot check out it will wear at you and it will eat at you. And I've seen it in social media from the YouTuber side, from Vine, from TikTok. I've seen it all over, of where people come in and they can't handle the negative comments. It's like you're getting 150 positive comments and 3 negative ones, but it's that one negative comment that says like, hey, you have a pimple on your cheek, you look ugly. Like that comment just breaks them, and they can't do it. So I think it depends. But one thing I like that you do is like, you're not afraid to call people out that call you out. And we don't really ever see that from other people in the disc golf media world. Is that because you're an independent contractor that you don't feel like you are kind of like, I have to be PC about everything? Like what makes you feel like you can kind of just go off after people?
Well, a couple of things. That first of all, if you don't like my hair, the way I say bag, okay, that's fine. If you want to challenge me on something that's like, I'm going to say factual, and it's not just an opinion, but it's truly factual about something I said or a reference that I made, and then you want to back that up with, oh, this fat ass doesn't even know anything about disc golf. He's rated 950. What does he know? Again, sorry, that's my internet voice when I want to get cocky with people. I just think like you don't know what you're talking about, and I don't know everything. Just because I've been around since '93 and I happen to be 45, I'm not saying I know everything. I take plenty of L's, or I admit my mistakes all the time. But just to like blindly attack me because they heard something Brodie said and it conflicts with something I said, and then I'm just automatically the wrong idiot here. Like it's just,
I love hearing that. I love hearing that.
I like, that's so silly that that's this knee jerk reaction. And anyway, there is, I still hold myself back. Let me put it that way. Trust me, I don't go off on everyone. I don't have the time for it, and I don't have the mental capacity to go off on everyone. But I bite back occasionally when I find it truly really outlandish. Like, it's just so far off and just so like distantly removed from any ounce of reality. And if it happens to cross me, sometimes I'll bite back. Now, sometimes I'll bite back with a little extra humor. Sometimes it'll be sarcasm. Rarely do I like try to get into the nuts and bolts and the hardcore facts of like, here's where you're wrong and here's the 19 reasons why. I just like to give a little light jab back, and if they can't take it, then that's on them. It's funny because a lot of times people feel like, well, we could just say whatever we want. They do this, they do that, and we could just say whatever we want. They shouldn't be able to clap back. And it's like, why? Why do you have that immunity? As some rando, yeah. Why do you feel like you should get that immunity or have that protection? So once in a while, I'll feel like I do it. Now, would I do it differently if I were employed by the network? The short answer is yes, but by how much is the question, right? Like, okay. I would still want to have some, but yeah, I do worry that, and the network could still call me up tomorrow and be like, hey, we saw what you posted to some guy on Twitter yesterday. It was hilarious that you obliterated him, but we still can't have you commentating next year, because for whatever reason. Like, that could still happen, right? I mean, just because I'm not within the payroll of the network directly doesn't mean that they couldn't still distance themselves from me. So I have to be cognizant of that as well. And I do kind of mind my P's and Q's to some degree when it comes to disparaging remarks or how hard I guess I quote unquote clap back at someone. Yeah. So I don't know.
I respect that a lot. And, coming from someone that isn't afraid to say what I think and not really hold back. I've had people come to Discraft to tell them that they should stop sponsoring me. I have people send us stuff at Foundation to say like, I'm never shopping with you guys again. And for me, like, the one thing I never want to lose is like my voice and my opinion. I want to be able to always share that. And so I love the relationship I have with Discraft because they have never once told me, hey, you can't say this. Hey, like, you're saying bad stuff about our players. You can't do that on your podcast. I say whatever I want to say. And at the end of the day, if Discraft decides like, hey, we have to let you go, Brodie, because of what you said, I'm going to keep doing my own thing. Like, that's going to be unfortunate, but I don't ever want to feel like I can't say what I want. I feel like right now, a lot of the media that's in disc golf is owned by the Disc Golf Network. And so you have, it seems at times where you have people that are watching what they say because of maybe some of the ramifications or whatnot. And so I think the more media that comes out of where people are just able to say what they want, I think that's a good thing for disc golf. And that's one thing I do appreciate with you when you like do come after people like that is like, you know, and obviously we all have our biases, right? I mean, you work with them, so you're probably gonna have a little bit more than someone like me that doesn't have a job with the Disc Golf Network. So I understand that.
Brodie, part of that also with Terry and even myself is we've been around for so long that we have like a kind of a deep ingrown into the sport reputation as well. And so like that we've had for a very long time, not saying that you haven't been in, but you haven't been in since 1993.
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel like Terry is known as this guy for a very long time. And I've known Terry more than half my life, and he's never changed one time ever. So he is what you get, you know what I mean? But at the same time, of course, if you got to know Terry personally or myself personally or Brodie personally, all of us have to hold back a little bit, you know, from the things that are said to us, of course. But also we're protecting something that's been around very long term for me. That I can say that about myself.
No, it makes sense.
I don't want to say these things, whatever comes to mind, because I have a long history with a lot of people that I don't want to push buttons with, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And I agree with you very much there, Yuli. And I guess it's somewhat synonymous with the concept, in my opinion, of yes, there's free speech, but just because you can say something doesn't mean you should. And that's kind of the code I live by, and that is very generically applied to all of life and government and politics. Like, just because you can say it, I mean, you can tell a police officer to F off the second you interact with them. You're protected under free speech. Doesn't mean it's a good idea. Yeah. Right. And just because you can say certain things on certain platforms, I just feel like doesn't mean you should. And then that's a whole nother, again, conversation. But I have a hard time with people that want to go to any platform, want to spew the most hateful, vitriol, you know, kind of conversations and words, and then want to, you know, come under free speech. And it's like, yes, we have free speech, but every platform doesn't have free speech. And even if there is free speech, that doesn't mean you should use it, right? Yeah. You can say, hey, I love guns and I love to carry guns around, but try saying that while you're boarding a plane, right? Like, just not your smartest move. Yeah. And so there's times where I hold back as well, because I could say something about it, but I'm like, you know, is it worth it to make that mention? I may agree with somebody on something, but that doesn't mean I have to go out and necessarily say it as well. And fair or not, you know, it's funny because I've also been challenged throughout the years when a player came to me one year and said, hey, you said this on coverage while you filmed me, and you know, something happened and you said something. I'm like, why do you care what I think? He's like, well, you have this obligation because you're in the media. And it started just kind of asking a lot of questions, like, who is my obligation to? Is it to him? Is it to the sponsor? Is it to the course or the TD? Is it to the organization? Is it to the people that wrote the check for me to be there? What if I'm there on my own dime? Like, there's a lot of, you know, we're kind of sifting and wading our way through this entire media landscape still, which, to be fair, I was there in the early days. So it's sometimes difficult to hear some rules or regulations or things that get said when it's like, hey, I was here from the get-go. And that doesn't mean I'm entitled to anything, but I've also watched this landscape shift and move from me going to dozens of tournaments, losing money on them, to then eventually turning into a business where TDs are like, oh, we'd like to pay you to come film tournaments. And, you know, and now we're in totally different
and you
world.
helped shift it. Honestly, Terry, you helped pave the way for the things that we have. Obviously, I mean, I know I even. Oh, here we go! Breaking news.
Oh, geez.
Breaking news. It has been confirmed that not only has Alden joined the Discmania Collectors Group on Facebook, but also Gannon Burr.
Oh,
What?
Just now.
Dang.
Both confirmed in the Discmania Collector Group.
Unbelievable.
Take that for what you want.
Maybe they picked up some sweet dis in Spain from Seppo or something, and I don't know.
Seppo's leaving Prodigy?
Yes, Seppo's going to, going to Discmania, Terry?
I'm just
Breaking
saying.
news from Terry? Oh, wow. This
No,
show's getting better.
They did a vlog together in Spain or something. I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, well, thank you, Yuli. I do feel like it's been interviewing our players, having these conversations. And so that kind of answers your question earlier, Brodie, when you're talking about like, did I demand to or request that I was on a mic? No, I think it was just a product of being in the right place at the right time. And I was the guy that was largely doing that. There's a lot of tournaments where there was no other media crews because they didn't exist. And I'm there and I decide to interview the champion. And that just became a thing that I did. And now it's obviously part of the given protocol every weekend. But that was just me doing it for my own sake for 5 or 8 years. So yeah, that just kind of evolved into those things.
And where we are right now too is like as disc golf media continues to grow, and I mean when you first started, I can be pretty 100%, I feel, in saying like you weren't making a lot of money probably making disc golf videos when you first started. So as people are starting to see companies come in and make money in disc golf media, that means more people are going to be like, hey, that's something that maybe I can do. And all that's going to do is create competition. And all that's going to do is make it to where people are like, I hate this podcast, but there's this one over here and I like this one a lot. Or 100%. I hate this YouTube channel, but I like this one. The more options, the better, versus like at a certain point in time, you were like the option, right? Like if you wanted to hear anything, I remember Ultimate Frisbee, there was a guy called Match Diesel who was just an Ultimate Frisbee player as well. And he had a blog, and it was really the only person that was ever doing tournament recaps. And so everyone was reading his blog to see what he had to say about players and stuff. And it was like, if you got your name in there, it was awesome. Or if they said something bad about you, you got pissed off. And it's like, that was the only thing Ultimate Frisbee had. College Ultimate Frisbee especially had. And so, yeah, I mean, it's just going to be one of those things of where it's just going to keep evolving. But all right, we have a few more questions before we let you go. These are from some of the listeners. These are from pulled from Discord, pulled from Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and also from Reddit as well. So we'll try to fly.
Oh boy.
We'll try to fly through some of these real quick and see what your thoughts are. So the first one's from Jayhawk. He says, I know he has to have an extensive collection of discs. Where/when can we see it? Do you have any plans on filming a video of your disc collection?
I think what would be an incredible series, would be grabbing a bin of discs, setting them in front of me, and then just going through those 30 discs, 30 to 37 discs, whatever it is, going through them. If there's a story or how it's relative or significant, going through that, and then going through another bin, and that's episode 1. And I could do that for a few years. Like it would be, and again, some bins are going to be cooler than others. If I have a bin of 30 Captain Raptors, like it'll be like, oh, hey, these came out. These are for Yuli. First year was blah, blah, blah. And here's, 32 of them. And so that bin's pretty quick and easy. But the next bin might span, an entire year with 2 or 3 different companies, and then I could say, hey, I got this one at the Worlds. Oh, this one was signed by Yuli when he was leading Worlds. Well, then here's the one when
Eric McCabe won Worlds.
McCabe went on to win Worlds. Here's that say, like, here's the player pack disc I got for winning or for being in that Worlds. So anyway, I could do
Gotcha.
that. That's kind of the plan. I think that could be a pretty fun series, honestly,
I'd watch
because
it. At least one Ben, the Captain
Yeah.
Raptor Ben episode. I'll watch that.
well, that's going to be the fire sale. So,
All right, this one's in from Session. He says, I do not know much about Terry besides his reporting, but did he play disc golf competitively? And what was your highest reported rating?
reported. I started playing in 92, 93. I attended my first Worlds. I got my number when I was in high school. I'm PDJ number 10738.
No one cares.
That's a significant timestamp.
Sorry, I always like saying that with the PGA number because everyone loves saying it.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to say that.
No,
Sorry.
I remember your
I knew
take
I could get
being
away.
I
I knew I could get away with you.
I remember I think it was your take and a lot of others that are like, no one cares. And it's like, then you're just not smart because
no one cares when you use that. Sorry, the way you're using it is fine. No one cares when you use your PDJ number as like you know more than someone else.
Correct.
And you use it as like a ooh, look at me. Like no one cares what your PDJ number is when it comes to like a debate or something.
Correct.
But
it's largely a timestamp. It's largely a timestamp for me, and that should tell you.
Thank you for letting me finally say that because I know you're the only one I probably can get away with saying it and not taking offense to it. But
I mean, that was also at a time when to go from 10,000 to 20,000 took years. We're doing that in a few months or a few weeks, right? We're getting 10,000 people in a few weeks. That used to take a year to do. And so
babies out there.
It was very different. It was a very different time frame.
What year did you get your PDJ number?
Like 95, I want to say, because I played in the 96 AM Worlds in Augusta, Georgia in 96. So I had to have a member. 10,738. Yeah.
So mine's 27171, and I got mine in 2005.
Yeah, that's cute. 2000.
Nobody cares.
Anyway, so
it's eventually... a timestamp. Never mind. With a bunch of trolls out here, man.
Eventually I worked up in the 980s and 990s. I hung out in the 990s for a rating for quite some time.
That's cute.
I was in the 980 to 990-ish frame for I don't know if it was 10 years. I'd have to look it up. It was for a long time. And I'll hang my hat on this. Eric McCabe said in a podcast a few years ago, he goes, he called it, with ratings inflation, he thinks my 995 in 2007 would probably be closer to like a 1015 in today's world. I don't know if there's any truth to that. He's a world champ with one opinion. But yes, my peak rating was 995 in 2007, which is the same year I ran Am Worlds, and then the next day went to Pro Worlds and finished in the cash at Pro Worlds. So I was doing more than just playing disc golf.
Nice. All right, Adam Wright, I've heard that all tour stops currently on tour will be gone within 3 to 5 years, and that all tour stops will be at properties dedicated to disc golf, mostly private properties or disc golf specific properties. Is this actually something that is a reality within 5 years? I have no idea what Adam.
I mean, he said he's heard it. Yeah, I mean, he said he's heard that. I'm glad Adam knows more than all of us. Is it a plausible idea that we're all on private property? 100%. I mean, we've all seen this. That's why we're not at the Memorial. And we're not at a number of other properties because we don't have the exclusive access and use of that land. And so that's why Maple Hill and Smuggler's Notch and so on and so forth, and these properties or properties that treat us like we have exclusive use. Jonesboro is a great example, right? That's technically public land, but we really take it over for the week. Is that a goal? Yeah, I would say that's a goal. Is it going to happen in 3 to 5 years? I mean, anything could happen. I don't. If that's in the business plan or the business model, then I haven't heard it explicitly said. But it's also not crazy. It could happen.
L'Enfant Suave. Does Terry think it's possible for disc golf media to maintain its sense of community as it grows? Or will we see it devolve into an endless stream of hot takes and clickbait, just like every other popular sport, in order to meet the demand of the 24/7 news cycle? This is a good question.
It is, and I hope there's people that will back me up. Like I am so not clickbait. Like if I hate it.
That's such a good quote. I am so not clickbait.
Like I hate it. I do. And sometimes, and this creates certainly a bias and a little frustration to sometimes hear talking heads and people spew on about shit they don't know what they're talking about because they watch something on the Disc Golf Network for a few hours, but now they know everything there is about disc golf. And I was like there 9 feet from what transpired, but they know the take. Like it just kind of frustrates me. And maybe that's a little ego driven, but so do I think it's going to evolve into just a cesspool of clickbait and stupidity? Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I think we're headed there. There's
no way of getting away from that, right? That stuff will always exist. I think the only thing is the people that do know what they're talking about, those are the people that have to continue to make content and do it in a professional way, or do it in a way to where people can consume it. Because, I don't know that much about the NFL, but I certainly know that I'm not going to Skip Bayless to get my information about the NFL on who's good and who's not, right? I think we that's what I'll say is there's all that niche, that kind of area of content. There will always be people that go towards that stuff, but I don't think that necessarily is a bad thing, because there will always be good content out there of people like yourself or Brian Earhart or Andrew Fish has a podcast that are saying stuff that people can go and listen to and be like, all right, I agree with what this person is saying, or I don't agree with what they're saying. But I don't see it happening that much in disc golf, just because there isn't that much to gain from it. So I think the clickbaiters are probably going to try to go somewhere else, but who knows?
Yeah, I mean, I guess we'll see. Again, for me, it's always been frustrating because I continue to go to more events than almost anyone else that's not throwing a frisbee, and so when I hear and see reports or takes that I just know are dead wrong, and then I see them perpetuated, and then of course you see, like everything else, how it catches fire on social media, and it just, I don't know, maybe I'm old school, maybe I'm just becoming an old curmudgeon, I don't know, but it's easy to roll your eyes and just be like, really? So yeah, unfortunately I think it's going to continue though, because there's access to content, and then everyone's going to have their take. And I'm not saying you can't have an opinion, and I'm not saying your opinion, you can't necessarily share it, but there's some people that I feel like are emphatically spewing their angle and hot take and their opinion, and they're just dead wrong. And it's like, cool. You keep doing you.
Yeah,
I'll worry about what I need to worry about.
That's why you got to come on debate night next year.
Okay.
All right. The last question is from Isaac. However, Isaac, unfortunate, Terry will not be able to answer this, because this will be answered on either a practice round with me and Ezra or on Jomez's practice round. The question is, what's in your bag right now? So if you want to know what Terry's throwing, you're going to have to wait until next year's practice rounds. Sorry about that. All right. Before we let you go, though,
the hint, let me give you the hint, though. The hint is lots of old school plastic, because I don't have the time or the care to learn much new stuff unless it's like literally just handed to me while I'm out on a course.
Unless it's a brand new like Gannon Burr Discmania disc,
Yeah, sure. But I have some plastic that's older than a bunch of your viewers, probably. So I'll say fired. That. Yeah, I'm just saying.
Are you trying to say we have young viewers? Come on, man. Yeah,
I'm not saying you guys are into young men. I'm just saying that I've got a lot of old school plastic, because I quite frankly just to go out and get the latest and greatest and to change something up for the 10 rounds a year I play now, it's just not really worth it for me to keep on top of it. That's my hint.
All right, so this is something that we normally ask all of our guests, and majority of the time our guests are professional disc golfers, so it's always cool when we have someone that might have a little bit of a different angle than them. So
I'm a professional disc golfer, but go on.
Correct. Maybe you should throw were in front of that, but
I've cashed this year in professional divisions.
I don't count that. I don't count that. I'm sorry. We can debate this next year on debate night. I do not count that.
I know. I'm kidding. Go on.
But what are your pet peeves? What are some things? What are some things?
How many hours do we have?
Well, maybe 1 minute, because then Yuli's got a question, and Yuli's got family over there, so we do have to try to wrap up. But this is the longest podcast though, so I mean,
yeah, of course. Well, hello to Pat and everybody else that's over at Yuli's place. But honestly, and I know so there's a little bit of serious tone in this when I do say these on the air. My pet peeve is people exceeding 30 seconds religiously and frequently. I understand there's going to be occasionally a bad lie. There's going to be an awkward stance once in a blue moon, and really, quite honestly, no one's going to complain at you if you were to exceed 30 seconds once. But and let me clarify, if you take 29.999999 seconds on every single one of your 72 throws during a round, I also won't say a word. It's when you habitually exceed 30 seconds is when I lose my shit. Just throw within the allotted time frame. I don't want to hear about the rules that you think should be changed. I just want you to throw within the rules that are currently in place. And so that I'm not picking on just Gannon or just Nico or just any of the other slower players and there's a lot of them now.
There's a lot
of them. Those are your two kind of poster children right now, but there's a lot of them. And I filmed one of them this weekend, and he knows it. Jacob Curtis. We talk about it.
Yeah, Jacob Curtis is really bad too. He knows
exactly.
it too,
and he knows it. And we had a frank conversation. You'll see that later on in the week. But
I had one of my buddies that was out there text me like, "Hey, how the heck do you play with these guys on tour?" And I'm like, "It's awful. And you know what's even worse? Being a fan and trying to watch disc golf with people like this, it makes it even worse for the fans. Like as a product, it's awful." So that's probably, and this is true because partially because I've always been a fast player, and it's just kind of the way that I've always played. Again, I'm good if you take every ounce of that 30 seconds, as long as you're under it, and when you're habitually over it, that is just a major pet peeve, and that's whether I'm in the booth or I'm playing alongside you, or I'm filming you or editing you. In every one of those situations, that's a major pet peeve of mine. This one is here's a not so hot take, kind of. I hate when players go to the front of the tee and they kick up dirt or something that's in the front of the tee, and they're trying to either get a wind read and or kick up the dirt so they can rub their hand in it. Why are you wrecking the spot in the front of the tee where we already have erosion problems? And you think, well, who cares about that? Well, first of all, it's against the rules because it's technically in front of you. And second of all, that.
Yeah,
I didn't know that. Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, well, I didn't even think about it.
Because when I go to the next parks department and I say, hey, I'd love to, put a course in, and they're like, oh, yeah, and you want to put in these cement things, and then you're going to have a whole bunch of erosion problems around it. It's like, no, because Brodie's sitting out there kicking dirt at the front of the tee, and you think, well, okay, you do it, who cares? The problem is, you're influencing...
I was a grass guy for a while, and then I saw someone do the kick dirt, and I was like, "It's worse." That's nice.
Yeah, it's
I know,
worse.
But it looks cool. It looks cool. It looks cool.
Yeah, and then when you do that, and then you influence a few thousand other people to do it, next thing you know, we got all these freaking dirt patches that are.
I definitely kick dirt.
Yeah, quit doing that.
So Terry's an anti-grass guy. Let's kill more grass, folks. Everyone listening, pull the grass out. Toss it up in the air.
Okay, what about the poof? What about the poofer? Do you like the poofer?
It's clever.
Do you like the poofer? Do you like it?
It's clever if you're talking about what Gannon's doing. It's clever.
I've seen now I'm watching all these kids poof around with their poof.
Gavin does it too. He's a poofer.
Yeah, so I'm okay. And again, I have that different perspective because I've helped install somewhere between 30 and 40 courses. So I'm talking to parks departments, and erosion control is a conversation.
Yep.
And now you got people out here kicking up, so it sounds dumb when you just say it, but then when you think about it like a little bit, it's like,
Still
I
kind
didn't
of
even
dumb.
think about that.
yeah, don't do that. Yeah, don't do that. And it's against the
All right.
rules. If you
All
think
right, I'll think about that. I'll think about
Yeah.
that. Next time I
Yeah,
kick,
yeah.
I'm going to be like, no, dang it. Why am I kicking this? And then it's going to be in my head, and I'm going to shank it. This is terrible.
Yeah. So you're welcome.
All right, Yuli, hit him with the last question.
This is going to be good because 1995 was your highest rating?
No, 2007.
2007.
I was
All right,
rated
we're going to take a
995.
trip down memory lane. 2007. Who did of the players that you were playing with and battling with, could be in Wisconsin, could be anywhere. Who did you look at their game and you were like, man, that's nice. I wish I could do that.
Well, I mean, I played like my 4th round of Worlds that year with like Climo and Christian Sandstrom. I mean, if that means anything, two of the
I mean,
greatest.
like it could be a putting stroke, or it could be like the way they threw rocks back in the day, or crazy distance. Like,
Sure.
Was there somebody in particular that you were like a little jealous of?
I mean, plenty of players, especially because I didn't throw far myself. Philo was just coming into the scene. Funny enough, I'm thinking about World specifically, but like Anthon was just an insane putter at the time. He still is, as we talked about. Doss went on to win that Worlds and clearly had that crazy kind of Anheuser putt, like an Anthon, like a Rico, right? So those are a couple of the guys. Kenny had already secured his 12th world title by then, and then Barry Schultz in Wisconsin, who I grew up with, is just the smoothest. He's arguably the smoothest thrower that you've seen, in a generation.
Ever. Yeah, he's the smoothest player, I think, ever.
Just smooth, right? Kale had started coming over to Wisconsin and was playing once in a while, I think, with us by that time. Felberg was kind of on top of the world as well. He was one of the contenders. Avery Jenkins, who didn't love Avery's power, at that time. That was 2 years short of him going toe-to-toe with Anthon in the Worlds. And Anthon's putting, like I said, was insane. And
Matty O, too, that year.
Matty O was always in the top 5 or 10 at almost every Worlds. And then look at Marcus Sahlstrom, who finished, second or third at that Worlds?
Second, yeah.
I haven't heard of that name.
And he was throwing piranhas. And he was throwing, birdies or piranhas or whatever, throwing lasers 400 feet with those things, or 450 feet. And you're like, dude, I can't get that thing to go 200 feet on on a beach.
A piranha.
Or whatever.
That's a sick name.
It was a piranha, yeah.
Was it a piranha?
Yeah.
Who made that?
Innova.
Yeah.
Okay.
But then look at Dr. Rick was still like relevant and couldn't throw 350 feet or maxed out at 350, but made every putt inside 50 feet.
Yeah.
Right. So like, I don't know. There was
actually
just
a doctor,
all the
or is
greats.
that his nickname?
No, Dr. Rick. Yeah, he's a doctor, a pediatrician,
Okay.
Hall of Famer. Yeah.
Well, I didn't know it was like a Dr. J situation. I don't think Dr. J was a doctor.
No, Dr. Rick is very much a doctor of 30 or 40 years.
Yeah, I take my kid to him.
there were just so many, and McCabe hadn't quite won yet his Worlds because that was 2007, but certainly McCabe was someone to look after. Macbeth was still not really anyone yet. He lost AM Worlds a few days earlier in a playoff at a hole that's just a few miles from my house, but he lost in a 3-way playoff at AM Worlds to a local, Greg Schwartz, to a local. And Greg kind of has not gone on to have quite the career.
I was going to say, is Greg making $1 million now or what?
No. Unless he bought out the architecture firm he works for. I don't think he's making $1 million. Super good guy, but that was definitely
what could have been, man.
peak.
What could have been.
So, and there's still jokes to this day, I think, occasionally between the two of them. But yeah, Macbeth lost in a playoff, in a 3-way playoff, him and Brian Miller and Greg Schwartz at the AM Worlds I was TDing. And that's when I met Paige Pierce. And yeah, anyway, that's a whole nother story. But that was just another hat that I wore, was tournament director.
That's crazy. Awesome.
So there's incredible players, all of which I just mentioned. Those are the who's who like that era when you look at obviously a world championships and Nico was very much in the scene or coming onto the scene. And I'm trying to think who I played against at that Worlds. But that was one of the best weeks of my life, coming off the week of running Am Worlds, then going right into Pro World.
Glow win.
The next year, take that down. I tell you.
I've never played Glow Disc Golf.
Oh my God. And they give you a podcast. They give you, have a disc golf podcast.
No one gave me a
podcast.
First off, no one gave it to me. I started it, and yes, we're award winning in the first year.
Oh my God.
We're not even 50 episodes in, and we've already won an award. Heck yeah.
The highest of all honors you call them the Grippies. Is that what they're called?
Yeah. That's what they're called. Yeah,
that is adorable. Okay,
that is it. So something to strive for next year.
Yes.
Maybe coming on Tour Life, you can learn a thing or two. Take it back to Smashbox and see if you can pull one off next year.
The only thing my resume is missing is a grippy, or whatever those are called. Yeah, it's a grippy.
Yeah.
It sounds like that could be like somehow associated with some other illegal activity. Like, oh yeah, I got a grippy last night. Like, I don't.
Definitely never crossed my mind.
Sounds really
I think
cool.
it's sick. We get a trophy. I can't wait to rate the trophy.
I'm gonna put it right here.
Yeah, it's gonna be sick.
Somewhere right here. I'm gonna put a new shelf. I think. Pop it.
Yeah,
up.
I'm gonna take down my 1 million subscriber YouTube plaque and put my
now we're just flexing.
Put my grippy up there next to my 7 world records. All right. Well, Terry, we appreciate you taking the time. If you didn't know and you wanted to catch more of Terry, Tuesday nights, 9 p.m. Central.
Yeah, 9 p.m. Central.
Smashbox TV. Check them out. If you want to see what the rival to the longest podcast is for disc golf, and then obviously you'll catch Terry all next year on the Disc Golf Network as well. You got something. Go for it. Yeah.
And I'm just going to get a couple more quick plugs in there.
Go plug away.
Those are right. You'll see me there. Hopefully. I mean, I guess my contract's up, so we'll see if the network brings me back next year.
Breaking news.
Hopefully tonight didn't influence that in any negative capacity. Just a couple other quick things. Yes, of course, this is kind of my quote unquote slower season. So you're going to see my channel pick back up with trying to do more post-production. I did film Las Vegas this last weekend. I'm going to Arizona a couple times. I'm going to be in Thailand and Malaysia. So, I'll be in Florida. So all that coverage is going to be unfolding in the next few months. So a lot of people have kind of hopefully expected that you see some of the off-season content that I go and do those things for.
And what YouTube channel is that?
That's on the Disc Golf Guy. That's my personal channel, so to speak, the Disc Golf Guy. And then on top of that, the Disc Golf Guy is committed to doing more of my own podcast next year, in addition to Smashbox. So we're going to continue to have the kind of crazy fun 3 and 4 hour ones. I'm going to scale it back and do just exclusively interviews, so that we keep them in a much tighter time frame, not trying to get any one of those grippy awards in that capacity. I want to come out with more podcasts that are just straight up interviews, me and one other person. So look for that. And then last but not least, big news announcing next Tuesday. That's about all I can say on it. It's definitely more on a personal level, but relates to disc golf. I'm going to have a big thing drop next Tuesday.
Can we get a hint? Channel. Can we get one hint? Like a little hint. Come on. For the people.
I mean, I told Yuli yesterday that it's more exciting for me than for the rest of the world, but it will still benefit the entire disc golf community.
You won the lottery?
No.
Oh, okay.
It has something to do with international disc golf. I'll say that. That's what I'll say. And our overall international disc golf scene has something to do with that. So. That will be next week, Tuesday. So that'll be Tuesday, and then Tuesday night will be Smashbox. We can talk about it more, and then you guys can talk about it or not come Wednesday. So I appreciate you guys for having me. Seriously, I know a lot of people think we have like this animosity among all of us like media folk, and it's just not there.
No, there's certain people I don't like. There's definitely certain people I don't like.
Okay. Yeah, there's a lot of there's people that don't like you. So okay, no, I guess that checks out. But I don't have any animosity. I may throw out like jokes and jabs and such, but I'm personally I'm pretty good with most people. So I appreciate it, and I want to see a lot of our media grow and thrive and succeed. And that's the shows, that's the channels, that's the networks, that's the independent pieces. Like we can consume it all. And like you said earlier, Brodie, people can pick and choose what they like. And if you don't like it, you can either shut the F up or provide some constructive criticism. And that's how we'll all get better. Yeah. Those would be the way I look at it. So,
well, I know myself and Yuli, including with everyone listening as well, we do really appreciate all the work you have done from years and years ago to what you do day to day now to continue to help disc golf be where it is and continue to grow. So we appreciate that, and we appreciate your time tonight.
Absolutely. Well, thank you guys so much again. Thanks for having me. And if you guys ever need like the right take on anything else, just call me up. I'll be happy to jump on with you.
Perfect.
Have a good night, guys.
Appreciate it. Yeah, you as well.
See ya.
All right, Terry Miller, the disc golf guy. There he is. We finally got him on the show. It was only a matter of time. That was fun, man. That was some good times. Some good
He's the
stories
best.
there.
He's a goat, dude. He's been around for so long doing this thing, and now you can hear like from the ground. You know what I mean? Like from the very first, like he was the guy doing it. He's the guy still in it.
All right. I know you need to go. So I do want to get through at least this one thing before I let you go, and I'll finish out the show myself. So this, again, like I said, I've got eyes and ears everywhere, baby. Yeah. I got eyes and ears everywhere. You know, little people, little birdies bringing me little stuff.
Chirping.
This was a sound. This is going to be a sound bite or a clip from the Ultiworld podcast. And this was sent in by one of actually our Tour Life crew members. Sent in this, said, hey, we got to hear what Yuli has to say about this. So there's a little snippet from the Upshot, which is with Charlie Eisenhood. So Silas, go ahead and play that.
Paul Ulibarri was on his podcast with Brodie, the Tour Life podcast. This past week sometime. I saw a clip on social media complaining about how Worlds is overvalued, basically, that like why does one tournament determine our entire season, and like this is too much emphasis on one event, and you know, why is it this, like we should value. Look, that sounds a lot like Cope from somebody who's never won a Worlds. I'm sorry. Like, yeah, at the end of the day, I do not believe that the person who wins Worlds is the best player of the season. That's not how that's not the metric in my mind. However,
if it was, this wouldn't be a discussion.
However, it is still the most important tournament of the season, and we all know that.
Yeah.
I know it. The fans know it. Everyone listening to this podcast knows it, and Yuli knows it. And you can complain about it if you want to, but like everybody knows that the stakes are higher because this is the most prestigious tournament that we play. It gets a 5th round because of that, because we want to crown the best.
Yep.
And, you know, it used to be a little too crazy with 9 rounds and like double shotgun starts in a day. And like, it was like too much, but I think we still retain this level of respect for the tournament itself. Now, do I believe that whoever wins is the, you know, world champion, like somebody who wins the NBA finals is the world champion of basketball or the World Series of baseball? By the way, the Phillies.
Careful.
I mean, like
you didn't. We got.
I don't believe that like that's the World Series and that's it, right? Like it's one tournament. It's sort of a silly name for a tournament that has never taken place outside of North America to call it the World Championships. But whatever. That doesn't matter that much. It is the most important tournament in disc golf.
Okay.
And we should give it the respect that it deserves.
Yuli, what?
This guy he just went in circles. What is he talking about?
Okay, so what's your you don't get to have this, right? You this feels incredible when someone comes after you, man. I freaking love it. So I'm going to let you have the floor. What do you have to say about that?
I think it's hilarious because, first of all, the one person who does know how important the World Championships is me. I haven't won it, but I hold it in the highest regard, just like every single player does in the entire planet. Is that correct, though? Is that correct? No. We play golf. We structured our entire sport around golf, which is paved the way through with 4 majors and then elite series just like we have. We're going that route.
Mm-hmm.
Having one tournament that is by far and away the number one, the end-all, be-all tournaments of all time ever. It's to the point of this. This is, and hopefully Charlie's listening to this so he can really get in on the take. This is
Well, we'll have to make it a clip because he doesn't. Here's
the facts.
All the clip.
Here's the facts. Okay. When I first started, the only way you could possibly make money is by winning that tournament. That has changed now. And it hasn't changed because more people have won the world championships. It's changed because more people can get their name on a disc and then sell that disc more than anybody else who's won the world championship. There are players that can do that. Not necessarily like the Paul Macbeth or maybe a couple other people, but I guarantee I'll throw Eric McCabe out, for example. Brodie Smith can sell more discs than Eric McCabe, who has won the world championship. It was the only way to get your name on a disc. It still is right now. It still is to get into like, let's say like a Walmart or blah, 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 these different places. How is that a thing? You get one chance a year. Let's say you have a brilliant career and you play 15 years at the top level and just so happen that you don't get your one spot at the world championships. Is that fair? Is that a fair thing? I don't think so. Let's say you don't win worlds and you win 15 U.S. titles, though, in that time. That person is not going to make as much money, especially back in the day, as the person who wins all the world championships. Is that fair? Another thing is the way that he goes around it and then says, like,
the name's stupid.
The name's stupid. Oh, well, they used to play 9 rounds of blah, blah, blah. But none of that matters. You already said it was the most important tournament. I agree. I 100% agree with that. It is the most important tournament. If I had to choose a tournament to win, I would choose the world championship. Do I think that they should all be equal? Yes. That's just logic on my part of being around and competing at a high level for almost 15 years.
I might sound silly. What's the cope thing? Is that like some lingo that I don't understand? Because I thought like cope. I use coping as in like a coping mechanism.
He's saying I'm saying this because I've never won a world championship, so I'm trying to drag the world championships down.
Is that what kids are not? Is that what people are saying now? Cope? I've never heard.
I
cope
don't know.
before.
But how about this?
Okay.
How about instead of thinking that I'm trying to drag it down, how about I'm bringing the rest of the majors up? How about that? How about we look at it like that instead of trying to like downgrade?
The only thing that would make sense to me, and a sport that like jumps out at me is like gymnastics, right? You could be the nastiest gymnast for 2 to 3 years, and then something happens to where you just lose it and you don't qualify for the Olympics. No one's going to like the general public's not going to know who you are. But everyone getting into gymnastics understands like that's what we're dealing with, right? Like the Olympics is above and by far the biggest event for gymnastics. That's where it gets put on a global scale. Now, sure, do they have world championships every year? Do they have other events every year? Yes, but those don't get the light that the Olympics does.
No.
If disc golf went to a format of where every tournament you got points and those points qualified you to get into the world championship, then I think I'd be completely fine with it. Because at that point, like every other tournament is just a qualifier to get into the world championship. And that should be the bread and butter. And everyone knows that. The problem is like, they're like, really, if we're really talking about like USDGC, if you brought an alien on and you told them like all the different things and you left out the name of what the tournament was called and you showed them all the different stuff with USDGC and with your World Championship, but you left out the names. The alien is going to say the USDGC champion should be the one that's more coveted.
How about this? How about this idea?
I mean, that's true. It's harder to qualify for the USDGC championship.
How
It's
about
harder
this,
to get
then?
into the
How
tournament.
about we call the Pro Tour Point Series the World Champion? If you win that, you're the world champion. It's done throughout the whole entire world. If you win the points, you're the world champion. We don't have to get rid of the name, and then we just have 4 majors, but you're the world champion. You've beat everybody the most consistent amount of times through the whole entire season. I don't know.
I want more people to come after you. I like that. That was fun sitting back and listening to that.
I do too. That's kind of cool. But honestly, if you got back to my main point, and I'll reiterate this. If you got rid of the world championship completely, there's no worlds, and you just replaced it with another major. Now you have 4 tournaments that somebody can wrap their career around and go after those. How does that not make sense?
No, it does. I mean, that's what tennis does. That's what golf does.
Exactly. That's all I'm saying.
Those are the 2 sports that we kind of should be modeling our, season schedule after.
And just to make Isaac happy, we'll make the point series the world championship so that we can still have that. And I can find other ways to cope.
There you go. Wait, who did you say? Did you call him Isaac?
What is his name? Eisen?
Charlie. Charlie.
My bad.
Okay. How much time do you have left? Because I got a few other things.
Oh, now I'm riled up, dude. I'm ready.
Oh, you want to stick around? Okay. Well, I mean, we're going a little somber here real quick, but then we'll bring it back up. So
give me some more Isaac stuff. Charlie stuff.
RIP to Matthew Perry. Did not know he was a disc golfer. But this is a picture, and actually your caddy, Brad, Dark Horse Brad's in this picture. He's on the far left. It's Brad, Ken Climo, Matthew Perry, and then do you know the guy in the orange hat? I can't.
Isn't that Dave Feldberg?
I'm not sure. But this is from
Dave Feldberg, I think.
This is from a message board. Hold on one second.
Bless you.
Sorry, I'm still getting over the sickness. But this is from a PDGA discussion board back in 1999 is when this photo was posted. And Matthew Perry, his PDGA number was 8902, and it was under an alias of Phil Shubano. And people did some digging. Phil Shubano was registered, his membership in Beverly Hills, California. And Matthew Perry was the president of Phil Shubano Incorporated. So even though you can't really link his name directly to his PDGA number, that was his alias, I guess he was using. And he was a member, I believe, for 2 years, 1999 to 2001 or 2002. So RIP to him. He passed away. It sounded like I had no idea. I'm kind of out of the loop on a lot of stuff. So I had no idea he was dealing with addiction to drinking. It sounded like that was a real issue with him. And it seemed also, I did a little bit of research, and it seemed like he really wanted to not be known as, oh, that's Chandler from Friends. It seemed like he wanted to be known more for the work that he was doing. Because I think a lot of times when you have a problem, it's easier for you to help other people that have that same problem. And it seemed like he was doing a lot of good work and doing a lot of charitable work for people that struggle with addiction. So it's a sad thing to see when someone, it's so easy to sit back and us, see someone like that and think, oh my gosh, that guy probably has the greatest life in the world. And a lot of times we just don't really know some of the struggles that are going on behind the scenes. So it was a sad piece of news. And I didn't even know he was a disc golfer. So just a sad story all around, but thought it was worth mentioning. So we're going to switch completely to a different side, and we're going to go to the disc golf costume. Now, there was a lot. We can pull up the ones from the Instagram first that the Disc Golf Pro Tour did, Silas. If you can pull up their post first. They have so we saw that's Nate Sexton. Is he a lumberjack there with a Yeti behind him? Do you know what he is there?
looks like
Is
a
he like one of those
lumberjack.
elves, or like an elf, and like one of the elves that you put in the front of your yard? What is that?
I don't know.
Okay, we're just gonna say he's a lumberjack. No idea.
He's a champion though. Big
yeah.
time trophy.
He dressed up. Then we have go to the next one. We have cat merch. I think that's Kiss.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Kiss. All right, cat merch is Kiss. Then we have skeletons with Gavin and his lady. Okay.
Solid.
No idea what that is. Is that baseball movie?
Yes, that makes sense. Maybe.
Movie?
Yep, with Tom Hanks.
Yes. There's no crying in baseball. I think, I have no idea. Then we have Chandler as the dinosaur. So that there were some people that dressed up, but the disc golf costume, Halloween costume of the year goes to, I don't actually even know these guys' names, but shout out to these two guys, father and son. You got Nico and you got a PDJ Marshall.
Oh man,
that is the costume of the year, with this stopwatch right there. A League of Their Own. That was the movie, A League of Their Own. So shout out to everyone that dressed as Halloween. I saw someone do a Get Spooky, like Dark Horse jack-o'-lantern.
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of cool. Someone said they thought it was maybe AI or Photoshop, which was sad. Hopefully it wasn't, but yeah, shout out to everyone that went out and dressed up as some sort of disc golfer or something for Halloween. All right, let's get to this ratings rant, because I know you want to talk a little bit about this. So I threw a tweet up. This was after my round at Ivy Hills. I played very poorly and was shocked to see what my round rating was, because I have a pretty good idea after playing as many rounds as I have. I have a pretty good idea of like where my skill level was for that day, as far as like if that was an F, a D, a C, or whatever. And so I posted, and I do want to correct myself, because I think what I posted was probably incorrect. What I said was, for those wondering, off-tour ratings are inflated around 30 points. Now, I should have said 3 strokes, because I understand now that 30 points does not equate to actually 3 strokes. Most of the time between strokes is like 7 or 8 points. So I should have said more like off ratings are inflated around 21 points is probably what I should have said. And the reason again for this is 100% off of what my rating was. My rating was way higher than it should have been for how I played. Now, a lot of pushback from some people. And again, like obviously people that are, let's say 980 rated, they're now looking at that being like, wait, are you saying that I'm really 950 rated? Screw you, Brodie. I get that. That's not really what I was trying to say. And so we're going to try to go into it a little bit. But these are 2 other professionals, one of which is a world champion in a double major. This is Isaac Robinson. He responded on Facebook to my post saying, it's easier to shoot 1060 playing a local course than it is to shoot 1060 on tour. And then Andrew Presnell followed that up saying, I have 34 career rounds 1060 or higher. Only 10 have been on the Disc Golf Pro Tour. So he has 10 on the Pro Tour, 24 off the Pro Tour of his 1060 or higher rated rounds. So this is what I'll say. And then Yuli, if you want to say anything else, when you go on tour, if you are a low rated player and you go on tour and you're playing on courses that have a lot of out of bounds, because that's the big thing. The course actually has a huge impact. If you go and you play on a course that has a lot of out of bounds, if you just play smart and you don't try to go for anything crazy, you will shoot above your rating almost every single time. Now, the other side though, if you're a high rated player, if you're like 1030 or 1040 and you go and you play on tour, it is so hard for you to shoot above your rating. It is really, really difficult. And a lot of times it's really hard on some of these other courses as well. And my last point is, well, I'll say the one thing that ratings don't take into account, if you take 10 people, because this is how ratings should work. regardless of what 10 people you take, right? If you take 10 people and they play a course, let's say you take 10 people that all have bad skill levels and there's one good player, and you have 10 people that 9 people are really good and 1 person is bad, and you play the same exact course and the weather is exactly the same, the rating should be exactly the same if someone shot even par in this grouping and even par in that grouping. The rating should not be different. They played the same course. That's how I view ratings, is like, even should not matter. Who's in the field should not matter if an even is higher rated or lower rated based off another tournament, if the conditions are exactly the same. The reason they do, though, is if me and Yuli step up to a hole and it's a 400-foot hole, me and Yuli are going to birdie that hole. Let's say it's wide out. Let's say it's in the open. Me and Yuli are going to birdie that hole more often than someone that can only throw 375 feet, right?
Mm-hmm.
However, if now there is 370 feet worth of carry, now all you did was put water in between the tee and the basket. When me and Yuli step up to that hole's difficulty is no different for us. When we're playing that hole, the difficulty of that hole isn't harder. By adding that water, it doesn't make that hole any harder. But now for the guy that throws 375 feet, that hole gets very hard. And that's where it makes the ratings higher. That's where in golf they have slope and they have rating. Those are the two things they use to tell you what you should shoot on a course, and it's based off your skill level. Disc golf, we don't have anything like that. And it sounds like your point, Yuli, the course that you played, the scoring separation, like the skill level gap, you can't really, on that course, you can't really showcase all the skills you have. So someone that is a lot lower rated than you, they actually can shoot a score a lot closer to your score because you're not able to really showcase all the skills.
Yeah, I think my point is it's like, I guess, listen, this guy balled out against me, played well, had a chance to win the tournament. Who cares what the rating is? Like, I would rather not know his rating, him not know my rating, and play against a guy and then afterwards be like, damn, nice battle.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This guy's a good player. Instead of being like, oh, this guy's 924, I'm 1020. The gap there's crazy. That doesn't matter. Like, I would have rather just been like at the end of the round, because I'm playing against a 920 guy. I know that. I saw the ratings. I know what I'm doing. And I'm like, dang, this guy's playing good. Why? I hate that there is that takes away from what I'm doing or from what this guy's doing. We're competing against each other in the open division, playing for a professional win. Here's the next thing. My last round, I think it was like a 980 rated round. Dude, I won the tournament. I won with like 2 holes to go. I made like a 50-footer, 80-footer. And then I have to then think, oh my gosh, 980? Like, no, I'm playing a professional event. I win the tournament. Who gives a flip about a rating? It's so silly to me. And this is a reason that people don't play smaller events in the professional division because they don't want to mess up their rating. That is silly. If you're a professional disc golfer, your main job is to play tournaments to make money. That is your job, right? To prove that you're the best player so you can play those tournaments, you make money. There are literally so many professionals, I know this, that won't play small tournaments because of the rating system. That is so crazy to me. It's so backwards. Like, if you're a professional and you want to make an extra $500 playing a C tier or a B tier, but you don't want to do it because you know that tournament gives out bad ratings, or you're the highest rated guy, and you know that's going to. And this happens especially with like the top guys, 1040, 1050. Those guys, they're worried about it. I know this. They've told me.
The course I just played, if I play really well, I shoot 16 under par. Like if I play really, really well, I shoot 16 under par. And I play with MA3 guys out there, like the local guys I play with, they sometimes shoot 10, 12 under par out there.
Yep.
There's just not any score separation. You bring up a good point. Ratings might actually hurt. I always thought like ratings actually might help tournament play because it gets people to want to play tournaments to get a rating. You might bring up a good point. Ratings actually might be hurting the tournament disc golf more about getting people to play.
I promise you this. This is fact. Paul Macbeth is more likely to play a non-sanctioned event, same people, same prize pool, same course, than a C tier. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. If it's right next to his house, let's say, oh yeah, that tournament's 2 minutes away. It's a 2-round tournament. He's more likely to play the non-sanctioned tournament rather than the sanctioned tournament. And that goes all the way across the board.
Yeah, this is a point that I don't think I've really thought about too much, but you might be onto something. Ratings might be holding back tournament disc golf. It's an interesting thing to think about.
Well, I enjoy playing. And I'll tell you this.
Because you are right with the pros. Like think about if I'm like a fringe pro, I don't have a sponsorship or anything, and all these manufacturers are telling me like you need to be 10-15 rated if you want to get sponsored.
You're not going to play.
I'm going to be very, very pick and choosy what tournaments I play.
You be smart to do that. Hey, since I got my 2-year exemption for the Pro Tour, I'm going to be playing all kinds of dude. One of my favorite things to do is play small tournaments. It's I had a blast this weekend playing with guys I'd never met before. And we had an absolute blast. And then it got into a battle to where I'm having to dig deep to beat this guy.
Mm-hmm.
And it just sucks that it's like there's a rating attached to the thing that takes the narrative into a different spot for some people. Instead of looking at the tournament and being like, who's this guy? They're going to look at his rating and be like, 920. Oh, Yuli must have sucked that day. No, I actually played pretty damn good. And I had to dig deep to get a PDJ sanctioned win, which isn't the same as what it used to be. But part of it is because of the rating system. If you just had tournaments, like more people, are you more likely to play a non-sanctioned or nobody knows you're there or a sanctioned tournament? C tier.
Well, now, I mean, where I am now, I don't really care, but definitely when I first was starting, I definitely was worried about what tournaments I was playing because I was trying to get my rating up because that's what mattered with Discraft.
And some top pros probably are to the point where they make enough money they don't want really. I enjoy competing. I enjoy playing smaller tournaments. Listen, I get my butt kicked early on tour 20 times a year. I enjoy winning a couple tournaments from time to time and getting my confidence back.
Yeah, that's where I am right now. Is I don't think my sponsorship with Discraft or with any company is my rating has any influence on that anymore. And so, and also for me as like a player, I don't think going into next season, if I'm rated 1,005 or if I'm rated 1040, that changes my likelihood of winning. Right. Like the number next to my name doesn't change how likely I am to win. So to me, it doesn't matter really more, but I do think there's a lot of people that aren't in the position that I am. And, I'm grateful to be in the position I am, but there are a lot of players that have to be cautious of what tournaments they play. And that sucks. Yeah.
I mean, I just feel like one of the things that really helped me this season is I came home and I played a small tournament because I had gotten beat down so bad and I'm getting 70th at every single big tournament. I'm playing against the best players on the planet. I came home and I played a little small tournament and I won. And it reminded me that like, oh, I'm actually pretty good. Mm-hmm. I'm actually a pretty good disc golfer. Now, compared to every single good player, this is another thing that's hilarious, is when people start talking down to top pros and being like, oh, 70th, man, that guy's washed, that guy sucks. Yeah, he's not doing as good as he has. But listen, top 70 on the planet in anything that you do is pretty good.
Yeah, but the thing is
there's
really
no but. No. There's no
there
but,
is a but. There is
What's
a but, though,
butt?
because my butt is like, think about what people do in the NFL. There are 32 starting quarterbacks in the NFL, and people talk trash about starting quarterbacks.
No,
Like,
I'm
you're the
talking about other pros. I'm not talking about just randos. I'm talking about other
okay.
pros.
Oh, I thought you were
I'm
talking
talking
about fans.
about
I was
like
like, fans are
in our
always
community,
Gotcha.
like other people being like, oh, blah 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 blah, because they know what
Okay.
it takes to get there, and they're like, oh, that guy's garbage, and blah 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 blah.
Okay, that makes sense.
That stuff is.
I was gonna say you're never gonna stop fans.
Oh no, you're
from
gonna have
saying
you're gonna have the haters
someone that
for sure.
finishes 80th
No,
in a
I should have
tournament.
been
You're
more
never
specific. I'm saying
Yeah.
like individuals you compete with start
Gotcha.
talking about it, and they're like, blah 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 blah. That guy's terrible. And it's like, dude, you know what it takes. And
Yeah.
you're telling me at one point you were,
This could be
just
you
starting.
next week.
Yeah.
This could be you next week too.
It's
Who knows?
It's I don't know. Anyways, but
No, I'm with
ratings
you on
need to
that.
go. More people will play smaller tournaments. More people will have fun. I think you'd see more like a Ricky Wysocki. Dude, the guy used to play every single tournament. Guarantee he doesn't play small tournaments because of the rating system. Guarantee it.
Yeah. Okay, so now we're gonna switch. We got a couple listener questions to knock out, but before we're gonna go into the number one. I posted this on Twitter. The number one cause for lack of distance that I have noticed with what I've been seeing and working with some players, some amateurs, they throw nose up and they throw with a negative launch angle. Now, I was surprised. There are the balloons. I was surprised when I made that tweet how many people were like had no idea what launch angle was. So what I'm going to do next week, if you're listening, it might be in a couple days if you're listening to this later, but if you're live with us right now, next week I'm going to do a live stream and I'm going to kind of break down what nose angle looks like, what launch angle looks like, and something that you need to focus on, because if you are struggling, if you are throwing every disc and it all is going the same distance, right? Everything goes 350. Your problem is you're throwing nose up and you're probably have a negative launch angle. So I'm gonna dive into that next week, do a little live stream on YouTube. So be on the lookout for that. And we got some cool technology too that is actually giving us input now to where we can actually see what we're doing a lot better than what we did before. So, all right, a couple listener questions here, and then we'll get the heck out of here. First one comes from David. He wants to know, how do you feel about disc golf gossip? As our sport grows, more and more people are finding interest in the players themselves and their lifestyles. Do you think this is good for the sport? And when do you think disc golf will see an outlet dedicated to that kind of news?
I mean, you're going to get that stuff with every single sport and across the board. That's going to be a thing eventually, for sure. What do I think about it? I don't care.
So I saw an interview with Ben Affleck and a little snippet, and it was interesting because he like is super anti being a celebrity. He does not want to have the paparazzi. He doesn't want to have the limelight. He views himself as like, I go in, I do my job, and I leave. Now, on an actor standpoint, I think that makes a lot of sense, right?
Totally. I like that.
I don't really, me personally, like I can just show up to a movie and have no idea who's in the movie and really enjoy it a lot. I don't have to have like, oh, I really love this person as I love their personality, or I love that they have the same hobbies as me. Sports, though, I do think are a little bit different. I think you can get way more enjoyment out of getting to know someone more and on a personal level.
Sure.
And so I don't think it's necessary. I don't think every player needs to be on social media. I don't think every player needs to be on YouTube. However, for disc golf to continue to grow, for disc golf to continue to get more people interested in it, that stuff is what a lot of people find interesting.
Yeah.
They want to know that stuff. And so I don't have a problem with it. Now, I'm not going to really be reporting any of that stuff. We're not going to be doing that on this show. We're not going to be like, hey, did you know that these two people are dating now? Like, that's just not of me. I don't really care, but that doesn't mean that other people don't. And so if other people are reporting on it, it is what it is, man. It is what it is. So, but yes, I do think as it gets bigger and bigger, there's going to be more and more of that there will be more and more media as well. All right, we got this from Jake. He says, with this announcement, I'm curious, will you be there? Do you think the other top tour players will be there? This was an announcement from the Las Vegas Challenge. They said the PDGA has approved a new date for the 25th anniversary of the Las Vegas Challenge presented by Innova, May 9th through May 12th, Mother's Day weekend. Sign up schedule TBD. So this, Yuli, this is the weekend before OTB and after DDO. So once you're done with Kansas, everyone that's going over to the western part of the tour, they're going to be kind of driving by Vegas. It's an off week. What do you think? I think this is the perfect date. If you could pick a date, this is the perfect date to try to entice as many people from the tour to show up.
Listen, I've never been a big fan of Vegas over the last couple of years, but I will say this. Jeff Jacquois runs a good tournament.
Mm-hmm.
It made it a big tournament. And if I can, I will make it because of that, because of what they made into the tournament and the fact that it just got completely wiped off the map. A lot of other tournaments have done that, but it's been a staple on the tour for a very long time. They put in a lot of work. His staff does a really great job of hosting that many people. With all that being said, if it's possible and it makes sense, that might be one of the only ones on tour that I make. I'll say
off
that.
tour.
Off
Yeah.
tour. Yeah. On tour that I like, that I make a little diversion to go play I would say non-sanctioned, but I guess it is a non-sanctioned pro tour event.
No, I agree with you completely. I think this is the only event that I have any interest in playing that's not on tour during the tour season. So I think it's a great week. It's probably the best week they could have gotten. So, all right, Jared Fair, how much do you estimate the guys who Airbnb/fly in for tournaments spend on tour costs this year? Traveling costs, tourney fees, housing, food, etc. So I have all my expenses in a note, so I probably could have done a decent job of adding those all up, but I'll just rattle off here. I'll do this. I'll rattle off my tour starting in Vegas. I'll rattle off my expenses leading up to Dallas, or leading up to coming back from Jonesboro. Okay. So a little bit of like maybe a fourth of the tour. These are my expenses. So the tour pass was just under $7,000. Flight to Jacksonville, $618. Flight to Vegas, $600. Airbnb in Vegas, $421. Gas, $30. Champions Cup registration, $364. Car rental in Vegas, $643. Airbnb in Waco, $427. Hotel for Waco, $163. European Open registration, $330. Airbnb in Austin, $1,120. Houston Airbnb, $431. Gas, $39. Gas, $50. Airbnb in Nashville, $530. Gas to Nashville, $37. Hotel, $122. Gas to Nashville, $40. Hotel, $118. Hotel, $576. $40 gas, $33 gas, $315 Airbnb, $36 gas, $172 hotel, $30 gas, $32 gas, $38 gas. It's a lot of money, man.
It's a ton of money, and that's you doing that. I'm flying into these events mostly.
It's cheap. That's as cheap as you can get, because I'm also doing an Airbnb with 3 people.
Yeah,
so we're splitting.
I'm flying in. Not only am I flying in, I'm paying for Brad to drive in wherever he's at, paying him a weekly rate, plus the Airbnb. So yeah, it gets pretty crazy.
It's not cheap. Yeah. And so that's why it is one of those things of where if you're not cashing a crazy amount every week, you better have some sort of form of income with sponsorship money or something else, because you're probably like barely breaking even, if that. It is very, very expensive.
Now,
to
some of
do.
these people who are living in their vans, though, you got to think that's actually a nice way to do it, because they're doing whatever their payment is on their van, because I'm guessing it's not paid off, might be, because those can be pretty high end. They can be like between $70,000 and like $100,000 for the nice ones that they have built out. So they're making payments on that, and then gas,
food and gas,
and that's it.
Pretty much it. Yeah,
and their entry
then the
fees,
registration fees. Yeah,
it's pretty. I mean, you're cutting off a lot of money, probably 15,000 minimum.
At least, at least.
Minimum.
Okay, Cardzilla wants to know, what is that PSA 10 card Yuli has on his bookshelf? Is it right there?
Oh, that's a Patrick Mahomes rookie card, my dude.
There you go. Patrick Mahomes rookie card. Do Ezra and me pony up our waffle bets? We still have some that we have yet to account for, but sometimes we do make a bet and then we'll immediately go to Waffle House afterwards and make good on it. So it just kind of depends. But we do have like a little bit of a running tab going right now.
Ooh, that's a nice call out. I just did the budget battle with Ezra.
Yes.
Those are live on our YouTube channels right now. He just texted me. He said, that's the worst thumbnail I've ever seen in my life. I just it was just stopped right there. That's the one. I don't do thumbnails. So I'm going to have to pay somebody to do a thumbnail for me. Sorry, as I'm apologizing publicly.
So check that out.
But go check it out. It was a blast. We did it this
channel
last weekend, where we go into another round disc golf shop. We have $30 to buy discs to go play each other at the local course or whatever for $30. Very entertaining. It's a fan favorite. So go check those out on our channels.
Yeah, those are cool. Does Yuli keep being a media personality when he's done on the pro tour?
I think of some capacity, probably, I would guess. I got asked this question actually this week of what I would do if I was done playing disc golf. And I think I would, the one thing I'm moving towards is being a coach, like a disc golf coach. So I love teaching. I love that type of thing. I really enjoy podcasts. It's like one of my favorite things is listening to podcasts. So I think I would still do that. As far as commentary goes, I don't think I would do it. Maybe. I don't know. It would have to be worth my time for sure to do that. I could see myself having like a studio here in this room, building out a studio, and then maybe doing one every once in a while. That would be cool. But I'm really working my way when I'm done playing to be a disc golf coach. I want to coach young talent to come up in the sport for sure.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense too. Like as far as just like time wise for you, the podcast is a pretty nice thing just to hop on once a week, talk disc golf, and then bounce, but doing the commentary, that's a whole different ball game, right? So yeah. All right. Last question here. Does Brodie feel like he should probably stop reading and responding to every negative comment on every social media platform? Okay. First thing, I don't even think I respond to like 10% of the negative comments I get. I get a lot more than I respond to. But the issue here is, well, first off, I've already kind of talked about this. The negative comments don't have any sort of impact on me. I've been doing this for so long. And also when I came into it, I already kind of had a very like, what's the terminology people use? Not cold heart, but I had like a very, you could just say whatever you want. It's just going to bounce off of me kind of mentality. And I've been able to maintain that. The thing about this that I don't like is, if I don't read the negative comments, then I also am missing out on all the positive ones. I'm missing out on, I can't just pick and choose, because like when I'm reading comments, I don't know what it is when I first read it. So I like to see what people have to say. I like to hear stories about people that, have said like, hey, thanks so much for getting me into disc golf, or maybe they have a story that they want to share, or maybe they have a question that they want answered. So I'm big on reading the comments. I try to do my best on the YouTube. I definitely try to thick skin. That's what I'm thinking about. Thick skin. Thank you. I try to do my best on Twitter to kind of respond to as much as I can when I can. But yeah, that's what I'll say about that is like, it doesn't impact me. If it does, I'll start letting you guys know, and then we can try to figure out what to do from there.
Yeah, I think Terry hit it kind of on the nose when he was talking about the things that really make him mad. And that I feel like you're the same way with the responses that you have. You don't just like respond to somebody being like, blah, 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 blah. It's the ones that like just don't make any sense. Like, for example, I'll give you an example from me. I was looking at comments in the comment section from last week, and somebody's like, geez, Anthony Barilla should hire Paul Ulibarri as his salesman. The horrible take, blah, 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 all the way down the thing. And I'm like, not a horrible take. Like, I'm actually saying that because the kid had a crazy good season. Mm-hmm. And so, sure, he could have had the most improved from the year before. And those are facts. So like Terry, that irked me because I'm like, no, these are facts that I'm talking about from somebody who's out there, who's seen it, who knows disc golf like the back of my hand. Mm. And then somebody's like, oh my gosh, this guy's just needs, because I'm the captain of Discraft. That's the reason why I'm saying it, I think is what he was getting at. And that's not it. Those are facts. The kid had a crazy season. And if somebody else had a similar season, I would say that about him.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
So I'm with Terry. When somebody says something silly like that, that's when I go in there. Or otherwise, if it's so bad to where they're like, oh, Paul looks fat this week and look at those love handles. I'm like, yeah, I know. Dude,
chill out, man.
I live in this vessel, bro.
Yeah, go easy on me, brother. Yeah. All right, some housekeeping here. Tour Life Crew. We just got another one. Tour Life Crew has been going nuts today. These are some of the people that just joined. Yeah, I'm all that. Flopster, Mark Myers, Joe Rodriguez, Adam Brown, Bugatti, Sam Sook, Car Talk, LL Hand J. These are all people that just joined on this podcast. Thank you guys so much. We do really appreciate it. I'm also doing a live stream this week for members only. So if you are part of the Tour Life Crew, that is happening tomorrow. You can go right now on the community page here on YouTube and vote when you want that live stream to happen. If you can't make it, the live stream will be up there for you to be able to rewatch if you are Tour Life Crew. So me, Yuli, everyone really appreciates all the support from the Tour Life Crew, and we'll let you guys know real quick where that support is headed, because it's headed somewhere very well. Reviews. Spotify, Apple. Spotify, we are up to 632 reviews. Our quest for 1,000 reviews on Spotify, we're getting closer and closer.
Have we checked out what those look like? I haven't read them. I'm sure you have.
4.9. We're 4.9. You can't leave a written review on Spotify. Apple, you can leave a written review. We have 165 on Apple. So Apple's definitely slacking. So if you're listening to us on Apple right now, let's try to get those reviews a little bit closer to Spotify. And Spotify listeners, we're getting close to 1,000. So we appreciate all the review you guys leave. We really do. Tour Life job interviews. This is what everyone's listening for. And you're wondering, hey, I love supporting the podcast. I'm a Tour Life Crew member. What's going on? All the money that we make right now from Tour Life goes back into Tour Life. So that money goes to Silas, who helps produces the show. And that money is going to be going to some positions that I think I did 8 or 9 interviews, I want to say, a couple days ago on Monday. Some really overqualified people, Yuli. You got some really, some like to the point of where it's like, holy, it's like, I really wish we were getting like 100,000 views an episode, because you guys are crazy qualified, like way overqualified. But a lot of these people really love the show and really want to help out. So hopefully we can work something out. But that is kind of what's going to end up happening with a lot of the support you guys are showing the podcast, it's going to allow us to hire people to make the show even better. And these people are going to really help our social media. The part that I'm not the greatest at, which is like editing and making really cool clips. If you guys go on our social media on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Tour Life Pod, I think is what it is for most of those. You can see it's pretty much just me like doing the bare minimum because I'm not really that great at anything else. I can put text on there and that's about it. But some of these people are crazy talented. So the Tour Life interviews went really, really well. I'm going to sit down with All Business Brad. We're going to try to figure out what to do moving forward. But hopefully by next week, we will have 1, maybe 2, and potentially 3 new people helping the show move forward, which I'm really, really excited about. Other things going on, the Break 68 with Hunter. We filmed that video. We also did a video that will be available for our Patreon members. So if you are a Patreon member, that'll be available for you. And we're also going to make it available for our Tour Life crew members as well. So Tour Life crew, I'm going to get that uploaded on YouTube, or potentially just give you guys the link to that so you can watch it. I try to play New London and break even par, only throwing a passion. So I think I could only putt when I was inside a circle. Everything else had to be a passion. So that video will be available for Tour Life crew members. And then also on the Foundation Disc Golf YouTube channel coming soon, a huge series that people love, the Break 86 with Connor. That video will be coming out soon. He goes to see if he can break 86 at New London for the first time. And if he does, he gets a $1,000 shopping spree at his favorite hardware store.
That sounds fun.
A lot of pressure, absolutely incredible drama in the video. I hope everyone tunes in and watches it because it's a lot of fun. Yuli, do you have anything else going on that you want to update the people with before we head out?
No. I think Power Disc Golf Academy is going to have a sale here coming up soon. I think by the end of the year. So be on the lookout on my socials, Simon's socials as well. We're doing awesome sales Black Friday, I think. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, maybe $25 for the rest of the year to get in there and get all that content.
Oh, wow.
So go check that out right now. Power Disc Golf Academy. We're doing some sweet sales. That's all I got though, really on my mind.
Any wedding stuff? Any wedding news? Everything,
not yet.
Everything running
not yet.
smoothly?
Everything's going smooth.
Ooh.
Sarah's a rock star, man. She's done pretty much the whole planning by herself.
Holy smokes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. With some help from family members, of course.
Okay.
So she's just killing it. Incredible. My family's flying in right now. My dad flies in tomorrow. My stepdad, my sisters, my brother's here right now. One of my groomsmen, Alan's here right now. So it's coming up, man.
Dude, that's exciting stuff, man. I can't believe that she's able to do that whole thing on herself. Because
crazy, yeah.
I saw the stuff that went through, all the stuff that had it. It's like, holy smokes, man. It's so much. So
yeah.
Crazy stuff. But all right, that's all we got. We appreciate everyone for listening. We appreciate Terry Miller for jumping on, talking with us.
Go
Silas as always for the crushing it, getting this thing running off the ground, and no crackle. I mean, heck, look at us now, Yuli. We are cruising, moving forward, sounding good, looking good. We're headed in the right direction, and we appreciate all you guys' support. Yep. We really do. And we'll see you all next Wednesday.